adoptive mother. But since the old lady cared about her identity, she should not bring trouble to others. Xia Tao said goodbye to Gon's father and mother and took Bai Fengshou and his grandson away. Was going to pick them up had arrived. After exchanging secret codes with each other and confirming their identities, they sent them to their residence. It is a quiet mansion. The owner hired them to restore the yuan blue and white porcelain. His specific identity is unclear, but he must have a good relationship with the higher-ups. Call me if you need anything, and I'll send it to you. Can you make sure this yuan blue and white porcelain is restored within a month? Brought them here asked, thinking that this piece of yuan blue and white porcelain would be of great use in a month.
Able.
Bai Fengshou and his grandson took a close look at the pile of broken porcelain pieces and gave a positive answer. The other party was obviously relieved, said goodbye to them, and left. There was no one else in the villa, and someone would deliver 3 meals a day. Xia Tao's job was to ensure the safety of the grandparents and grandchildren. It was quite easy, but also quite boring. Bai Fengshou and his grandson were completely immersed in the restoration work and hardly left the house. They asked Xia Tao to take care of what was needed. With their efforts, the restoration was completed in just half a month. With their skillful hands, that pile of broken porcelain pieces was transformed into a big-bellied jar. It was impossible to tell that it had ever been broken. It was truly a work of art that surpassed nature. Superiors were very satisfied with the work of Bai Fengshou and his grandson, and rewarded them with a week's stay in Hong Kong before returning home. The owner of the yuan blue and white porcelain was also very happy and sent someone to deliver 3 big red envelopes, each containing 10,000 yuan in cash. Bai Fengshou and his grandson were so shocked that they didn't dare to accept the money and handed it all over. Take it and bring some local specialties home to give to relatives and friends. The man who had been working with them during this period did not accept the money and allowed them to spend it with confidence. The grandparents and grandchildren then felt at ease to take the money and discussed how to spend it. Let's buy a color TV. It's better than black and white. Buy some clothes for Xiaofeng, Jinsong, and Songrong, and you can wear them to work. And buy some gold jewelry, too, for your mother and Huanqi, Jiao, and Qiqi, Potato, and you and Songrong's future partners. Xia Taoji was very thoughtful and made arrangements for everyone in the family. Even Wan Qiqi and Tu Dizizi were not left out. Xiao Xia, do you know where I can buy these things? Xia Taoji took the initiative to ask Xia Tao that she had adjusted her mentality. Even if Xia Tao was from the Sakura country, she was not a Japanese devil. The Japanese and the people of Sakura are 2 different kinds of people. There are bad people in China, and naturally there are good people in Sakura. She hates the Japanese, but Xia Tao is a good girl, and she can't kill a whole boat of people with one blow. Furthermore, Xia Taoji noticed her grandson's feelings for Xia Tao. It was so hard for the child to fall in love, and she couldn't stand in the way. Xia Tao was stunned for a few seconds, then nodded. I'll take you to buy it. During the past half-month, she tried her best to avoid talking to Xia Taoji, but she didn't expect the old lady to take the initiative to look for her. Thank you for your help. Xia Taoji smiled kindly and returned to her previous self. Xia Tao pulled the corner of her mouth, as if she had smiled, but her eyes softened a lot. After dinner, she took the grandparents and grandchildren shopping. They bought everything in one day and spent all their money. In addition to color TVs, gold jewelry, and clothes, Xia Taoji also bought several pairs of leather shoes, all of which were fashionable styles. She bought a pair for each family member. In the evening, Xia Taoji called Bai Fengshou into the house, took out a gold bracelet, and handed it to him. Grandma, why did you give me the bracelet? Bai Fengshou asked with a smile. He was not a sister, so he didn't need to wear a bracelet. And now my sister can't wear it either. Their family has not yet taken off the landlord hat, so they have to keep a low profile in everything. Go and give it to Xiaoxia, Xia Taoji said with a smile. Bai Fengshou was stunned for a few seconds, then his face turned red and his ears turned as red as if blood was about to drip out. Grandma, I didn't say. I know. I raised you. I know what you were thinking. Xiaoxia is a good girl. You have a very good eye. Give this bracelet to Xiaoxia and see how she responds. If she accepts it, I can have the wedding. If she doesn't, you have to keep working hard. Xia Taoji smiled with her eyes curved. She was still in good health and would definitely be able to host her grandson's wedding in a grand manner. Grandma, I'm a landlord's son, and I don't want to get married for the time being. Bai Fengshou refused, saying that with his current status, he was not qualified to get married. Xiao Xia is from Sakura country. She definitely won't care about your identity. I'm just a little worried now. You are unlucky with Xiao Xia. I'll ask someone to do your horoscope reading to see if I can help you. Don't worry, it's not a big problem. The most important thing is to see if Xiao Xia is interested in you. I think this girl hasn't figured it out yet. You have to work harder. Xia Taoji advised her grandson to let go of his burdens and boldly pursue Xia Tao. Grandma, don't you care about her identity? After all, she is from Sakura country. Bai Fengshou asked. I did care at first, but now I understand. There are good people in Sakura country, too. Xiao Xia is a good girl, and she is a Chinese citizen now, working for the government. The government has no objection, so why should I have any objection? Xia Taoji smiled very open-mindedly and started to persuade her grandson instead. Grandma, is it because of me that you... No, Xiao Xia is a really good girl, but I want to remind you that Xiao Xia is sensitive. You must be patient with her and don't be resentful of her because of her identity. Go ahead, Grandma will wait for your good news. Xia Taoji did not tell anyone that Xia Tao had been hurt before. This was the girl's secret, and she could not tell it. Bai Fengshou shyly took the gold bracelet. He did have some special feelings for Xia Tao, and since his grandmother didn't mind, he would confess his feelings to her. After coming out of Xia Taoji's room, Bai Fengshou didn't find Xia Tao, so he went back to his room to read. But as he was reading, he suddenly thought of a question about porcelain restoration, so he went to find Xia Taoji again to ask. Xia Taoji's door was closed. Bai Fengshou was about to push it open when he heard voices talking inside. Do and blame me. I haven't forgotten the hatred in our family. Xiao Xia is not a little devil. She is also a poor girl. Fengshou finally has a girl he likes. I must support him. Xia Taoji was holding 3 incense sticks and talking to her relatives. She was afraid that her relatives would blame her, so she explained everything clearly in advance. Bai Fengshou's expression at the door became solemn. He did not go in and left silently. Xia Tao came back in the evening, but he did not give the gold bracelet to his grandmother. Instead, he returned it to her the next day. Grandma, I've been thinking about it all night. Miss Xia and I are not suitable. Please don't mention it again in the future. Why not? Don't you like her? Xia Taoji was anxious. Why did everything suddenly change? It's really inappropriate, Grandma. Let's just leave it at that. Besides, Comrade Xia may not like me. After she got together with me, she had nothing but bad luck. She must hate me to death. Bai Fengshou made a joke. He didn't love Xia Tao to the point of being madly in love with her, so the right choice was to quit as soon as possible. If he hadn't heard what his grandmother said, he might have really thought that his grandmother didn't mind. He was taking it for granted. How could she not mind the revenge for the annihilation of her entire family? My grandmother said against her will that she didn't mind. If he really got together with Xia Tao, there would always be a thorn between my grandmother and Xia Tao, which would be unfair to both of them. Before this relationship even started, he already had a thorn in his heart. As he was now, he had no right to pursue Xia Tao, so he might as well get out of it as soon as possible. Xia Tao didn't know about these things until she returned to Tanzhou. After sending the grandparents and grandchildren home, she ran away impatiently. She would make sure to find out clearly before accepting any tasks in the future, and she would definitely not accept one if Bai Fengshou was involved. Looking at Xia Tao's fleeing back, Bai Fengshou smiled bitterly. In fact, he was just being too sentimental. Comrade Xia didn't mean that at all. In late June, Wan Qiqi and Xia Tao went to Hong Kong again. Of course, they had to bring Manzai and Mama Jiang with them. Tuda Zai couldn't leave them. Lu Yi didn't go with them. He went to the United States to deliver goods. Gon Defa's people had already figured out the situation there. Wan Qiqi's reason for coming to Hong Kong was still very justified. She boasted that she would bring at least $5 million in foreign exchange, and Pei Yuan let her go without saying a word. She didn't tell Pei Yuan about Liu Ye's delivery to the United States. After all, it was not a serious matter, and it was not tenable in terms of morality, so she just did it secretly. Up the mountain was cleaned spotlessly by the sisters Ah Xiang and Ah Hong. They did not tell them in advance that they were coming, so even if the sisters were a little lazy, Wan Qiqi would not think it was a big deal as long as it was generally acceptable. But the villa was spotless and bright, just like when she lived here before. It was obvious that the two sisters insisted on cleaning every day without missing a single day, otherwise it would not be so clean. When they arrived in Hong Kong, it was still dark. When they reached Midway, it was still very early. Many people were still asleep, but Ah Xiang and Ah Hong were both up. Ah Xiang was mopping the floor while listening to English, while Ah Hong was working in the garden. "Sister, you are here." Ah Xiang saw them and came over to greet them in surprise and called out to the garden, "Sister Hong, my sisters are here." Ah Hong ran over. She was in much better condition than before. She was a little fatter, her eyes were brighter, and she had regained some of the vitality of a young girl. "Ah Xiang, go cook." Ah Hong's personality has become much more generous than before, but she still keeps a distance and doesn't dare to get close. It wasn't that she was afraid, but she felt that she was too dirty and would tarnish the beautiful and kind-hearted lady and young master.
"We have eaten."
"Ah Xiang is learning English?" Wan Qiqi asked with a smile. "Yes, I enrolled in an English class at night school. Learning English will make it easier to find a job and the salary will be higher."
Xiang en souhaite généreusement.
"You should study hard, and it would be better if you can learn to type so that you can work in the office building." "Ah Hong, do you want to learn too?" Wan Qiqi looked at Ah Hong. I'd better forget it. If Madam doesn't mind, I want to work here for a long time, even without salary." Ah Hong lowered her head in embarrassment. She felt that she was being a bit unreasonable, but she really didn't want to go out again. The world outside was too scary. She just wanted to stay in the house and be content with having a meal to eat. Some time ago, Ah Xiang took her out to buy vegetables, which lasted just over an hour, but to her it was like purgatory. The people on the street and in the vegetable market looked at her strangely, and she didn't want to stay there for even a minute. Ah Xiang said that she was too sensitive. The looks from those people were normal, but she just felt it was weird. Those people must have known that she had been an easy-souled woman before, and they must have been calling her dirty. After that, she never went out again. She stayed in the house and worked every day, cleaning her ladyship's house and tidying the garden. Only in this way did she feel that she was still useful and not eating for free. You can work as long as you want. You keep the house so clean and the gardens so beautiful. I wish you could work longer. Wan Qiqi agreed readily. The meal had to be eaten bite by bite. Ah Hong had been bullied for so long and suffered serious psychological trauma. She would definitely not be able to adapt to the outside world in a short period of time. It would be good to let her work at home. "Thank you, ma'am. I'm going to work." She felt completely at ease and worked even harder. After resting at home for 2 days, Wan Qiqi called Gondefa to ask about the situation in the United States. "I went there several times in person. Ouyang and Xingzai are in charge there. We have only managed 3 sales lines so far. We can sell 1 kilogram of meat every day. I also got a few senior police officers to give them 40% of the profits. They have big appetites."
"Give it to them."
As long as the goods can be sold safely, 40% is nothing. Wan Qiqi had no objection. Even if it was 50%, it would be fine. At worst, she and Liu Yi could just visit the homes of those senior executives. "Mrs. Wan, is there really no problem with the supply of goods?" Gondefa was still a little panicked. Lately, he had to chat with his ancestors every night. Only after receiving their praise could he fall asleep peacefully. "There will definitely be no problem with my goods. Tell your people to be careful. Don't confront them head-on if they encounter any tough opponents. Call me and tell me, and I will take care of it." Wan Qiqi instructed. In the United States are also quite brutal. Gondefa's men have just arrived, and they are bound to suffer some losses as they are unable to defeat the local snakes. We have done this several times, but we have never gained an advantage. Now the other party does not dare to make a move and is confronting us. Fortunately, the weapons provided by the madam have saved us from being at a disadvantage. Gondefa's tone was full of admiration. No one knew where Mrs. Ruan got those high-end weapons. They were not even available on the black market in the United States. When they took out these sophisticated weapons, those people were dumbfounded and did not dare to confront them at all. Don't worry about the weapons. I still have some. I'll invest half of the money I make from selling goods in the United States into schools and donate the other half back to the mainland. What do you think? I have no objection. Madam is the boss. Gondefa naturally had no objection. The goods belonged to Mrs. Ruan, and the weapons also belonged to someone else. He only provided some manpower, so he didn't have the nerve to share the money. Madam, is Miss Xia here too? The business, Gondefa shyly asked about Xia Tao. He was very busy last month and only heard from his parents that Xia Tao had come, but he happened to be away from the store that day. He went home early the next day, but still missed her. After that, he went home every day, but never met her. Come on, I'll help you call her.
No.
No need, Gonda was so flustered that he stuttered. Before he could finish his words, he heard Xia Tao's voice coming from the microphone. How is the enrollment going? It's in progress. I've found several top students, and I'm trying to convince them to come to our school one by one. Gondefa subconsciously straightened his chest and answered respectfully, as if he was reporting to his superior. They don't want to come to our school? Xia Tao frowned. Her school was so good. Why didn't she want to come? It's mainly because our school has just been established and we don't have any historical achievements. Most parents are skeptical about our school's teaching ability and are not confident in entrusting their children to us. But don't worry, sincerity can move mountains and stones. I will definitely be able to impress them with my sincerity. Sincerity can't move shoot, I'll find you later. Xia Tao snorted. The big fool was too slow to do things, so she had to go to the homes of those stubborn parents in person to persuade them. Have you found the teacher? Ruan Chichi asked from the side. I have hired several teachers from prestigious schools with a large sum of money. They are all very capable and have signed contracts, but 2 teachers have not yet agreed to leave. They do not want to leave their current schools. These 2 teachers are very capable. One is in charge of the transition from primary school to junior high school, and the other is in charge of the college entrance examination. Both have very good performance in the industry. Not satisfied with your salary? Ruan Chichi asked. No, the salary I offer is twice their current salary. They don't have confidence in our students and are afraid that it will affect their reputation. Gondefa replied. I'm going to find them tonight. If they refuse to come, I'll beat them up. Xia Tao snorted coldly. She had the best way to deal with stubborn people. You should win people over with virtue. If you go away, you will just beat them up every day. Excellent teachers like these have their own personalities. We must talk them into words. Ruan Chichi glared at her and pushed her aside. Xia Tao clenched her fists, wanting to punch them a few times to vent her anger. I think so too. These 2 teachers are both graduates from prestigious universities and are indeed very capable. If we can recruit them, our school's enrollment rate will definitely be good. Gondefa has a very high opinion of these 2 teachers. Teachers, don't worry. First, you need to find a good source of students, especially the top students. You have to recruit them. As long as the source of students is guaranteed, there will be no problem with the teachers. Ruan Chichi understands these 2 teachers very well. For them, reputation is more important than money. Therefore, the top priority is to solve the student source problem. Mother. Manzai came back holding Tuduzai, followed by Mama Jiang. They went for a walk in the nearby park. The little kid got down from his arms and ran towards Ruan Chichi happily like a little duck with a piece of biscuit in his hand, and his pockets were also stuffed full. Eat it, Mom. Little Potato climbed onto the stool, supported himself on the table with one hand, and fed Ruan Chichi with the other hand. Manzai stood behind him with both hands to support him so that the little one would not fall. Thank you, cub. Ruan Chichi took a bite of the biscuit and gently pinched her baby's chubby face. The more she looked at him, the more she felt that her baby was the cutest in the world and was also very filial. Every day when he goes to the park to play, he makes the men, women, old and young in the park very happy, and they all feed him. So the baby's pockets are always full, and he never has to worry about food. You're welcome. The little boy was very happy and stuffed the remaining biscuits to Xia Tao. Annie, eat. I won't eat what your mother has eaten. Xia Tao curled her lips in disdain, reached into Zizi's pocket, took out a piece of candy, peeled off the candy wrapper, and stuffed it into her mouth. Come on, Annie will take you to swing. Xia Tao picked up the kid and carried him to the garden. Soon the kid's happy laughter was heard, and he was yelling at Xia Tao to swing higher. If it's any higher, it will fly out. What a courageous little brat. Xia Tao said something annoyed, but didn't dare to swing too high. She was still very steady when taking care of her cub. Wan Qiqi finished her phone call with Gone Defa. She prepared to go out. It was now mid-June and other schools must be competing for students, so she had to hurry. Manzai and Mama Zhang stayed at home to look after the children, while she and Xia Tao went to the office building of the Rongyao gang and went to see the famous Hong Kong adult star Chen Meier, who was also the once powerful gang boss Chen Xiong. Chen Xiong's arrogance has completely disappeared. Because he is obedient, Gonda treats him well. He has a single room, and he has both meat and vegetarian meals 3 times a day. In addition, he is locked in the room every day, so his skin is very white, and he really has some of the charm of an adult star. Even if we let him out now, he won't leave, said Gone Defa. Are you afraid of being recognized? Yes, he is quite famous now. Many popular stars cannot compare to him. Wandao even invited him to film a movie there, but I didn't agree. Gone Defa was afraid that Wandao would take her there and beat her to death. Chen Meier was his cash cow now, and he couldn't bear to let her go. As long as he's obedient, take good care of him. What about Scarlu? Wan Qiqi asked about another one. He was sent back after shooting 3 movies. After Scarlu got into trouble, his deputy took over. This guy was very cunning and sinister. He caused my brothers to suffer a lot. So I released Scarlu and let him fight the new gang leader. Now they fight among themselves every day and have no time to cause trouble. Gone Defa's tone was a little proud. The book of military strategy was still very useful. He solved the big trouble with just a little trick. Brother Gone, you may not know this, but Scarlu had to give us a red envelope to express his gratitude. If it weren't for us, he wouldn't have known that he has a dirty trick on his head and his wife and son belong to others, said one of his men with a smile. Is it the new gang leader who stole the girl's girlfriend? Wan Qiqi immediately became interested. Yes, madam. You are really smart. You guessed it right. Scarlu was too fierce in the fights before, and he was injured and couldn't have children. His wife had already hooked up with someone else. His son is also the son of the new gang leader. She whispers in his ear every day, asking him to support his mistress. If it weren't for us, Scarlu, the fool, would still be in the dark. Seeing that Wan Qiqi was interested in listening, the men nearby started talking about the gossip about Scarlu's family. Scarlu was also quite cruel. He forced his wife to film a movie. He also killed his beloved son, whom he used to treat like the apple of his eye. He killed him in front of the adulterous couple. His wife went crazy on the spot. They are fighting to the death, but Scarlu still has the upper hand. He has a lot of experience and many brothers under him. The new guy is too cruel and disloyal. His brothers are unwilling to fight for him. It will take at most a month for Scarlu to kill him. There is another thing. Scarlu doesn't like women anymore. He found a male artist who just debuted. He is only 18 or 19 years old. He is more coquettish than women. Now he is Scarlu's favorite. Subordinates told a lot of new gossip and Wan Qiqi listened with great interest. Scarlu should indeed be grateful to them. If he had not made 3 movies, how would he have known his true hobby? Wait until Scarlu wins, then you can go and recruit them. First integrate the gangs in Hong Kong, and then go to Europe to reorganize them. Wan Qiqi painted a big and delicious pie for Gone Defa and his men. Everyone's eyes were shining, and they were full of confidence in the future. Drawing the pie, she took Xia Tao and Gon Defa to visit the students' homes. The first student lived in a pigeon cage in Sham, Shui Pa. The family of 5 lived in a small house of less than 10 square meters. The small room was divided into 2 by a curtain. There was a bed, a table and a cabinet outside, and a bunk bed and a desk inside. Sundries were piled in the compartment above the room. The narrow space was utilized very thoroughly. A man as big as Gondefa had no place to stand and could only stand at the door. Wan Qiqi and Xia Tao entered the house. They were greeted by the child's mother, a short and fat middle-aged woman with a poor face. The child's father had not yet finished work, and the child and his sister were doing homework in the inner room. The mother was holding a 1-year-old child in her arms. She was not very friendly to Wan Qiqi and the others. She said impatiently, "I told you last time that my son has already decided to go to Rongda school and will not go to your Jutta school. Don't come here in the future. We at Jutta can meet all the conditions that Rongda agreed to, and we will also give double the scholarship. Why don't you agree?" Wan Qiqi asked softly. "Because Teacher Li is in Rongda. Rongda promised to put my son in Teacher Li's class. My son will take the entrance exam to HKU in the future. Can your school guarantee this?" The child's mother sharply questioned that she could not ruin her son's future for a little money. The child's mother mentioned is the teacher from the prestigious school whom Gon Defa failed to poach. Teacher Li has been in practice for 15 years and has sent 5 classes of college entrance examination candidates, and the admission rate of each class was the highest in the city. Moreover, Teacher Li only teaches from the first year of high school to the 3rd year of high school. He is also the golden signboard of Rongda School. As long as he is there, parents will send their children here, and there is no worry about not being able to recruit students. Then you should come to our school. Teacher Li has just signed a contract with our guardian. He will be a teacher at Guardian in the future. As long as your son comes to Guardian, I promise that he will be placed in Teacher Li's class. Not to mention the entrance exam to HKU, even Ivy League schools will be no problem." Wan Qiqi made a boast, and Gondefa at the door was hesitant to speak. Teacher Li hasn't been recruited yet, and it doesn't seem right to lie to him like this. But he had an inexplicable confidence in Wan Qiqi, so after hesitating for a few times, he remained silent. "Did you really recruit Teacher Li? Rongda said a few days ago that he would put my son in Teacher Li's class." The child's mother was skeptical. "Rongda will definitely not tell you the truth. Teacher Li is their golden signboard. How can they recruit top students even if I tell you? When your son goes to Rongda, Teacher Li will be in our Jutta. It will be too late for you to regret it. Madam, we at Jutta value our children's future more than you do. Think about it, Jutta is a new school. If we don't have a good reputation, how can we recruit students in the future? We have invested so much money in running a school. We must make money. We will never do a business at a loss, so you can rest assured, even if it is to make money, we must ensure the children's admission rate, especially the first few classes. There must be no problems." Wan Qiqi spoke with great confidence and sincerity. The child's mother's expression relaxed a lot. These words touched her heart. "Did Teacher Li really go to your school? You're not lying to me, are you?" The child's mother asked again. "It's absolutely true. If you don't believe it, you can write it in the contract. If your son is not in Teacher Li's class after school starts, the school will compensate you 100,000 yuan. Wan Qiqi used her trump card. 100,000 yuan was an astronomical sum of money for this poor family. It was enough to buy a 500-foot building. 500 feet is approximately 46 square meters. Sure enough, the child's mother's eyes lit up and she immediately relaxed. Gon Defa took out the school seal and signed a contract with her. Looking at the bright red school seal on the letter of guarantee, the child's mother felt relieved. No matter what, her son will not suffer any loss. It is better if Jutta has Teacher Li. If not, 100,000 yuan can send her son to study abroad. After dealing with the first top student, they went to the next one. This top student is a girl who is as outstanding as the previous boy, but she is very introverted and hardly talks to anyone at school. She always keeps to herself. The girl's name is Huang Ling. She's 16 years old and lives in Kowloon Walled City. Her family situation is a bit complicated. Her stepfather is a gambler. Her mother used to be a street-easy sold woman, and she has younger brothers and sisters, all of whom are not born to the same father. On the way to the girl's home, Gondefa talked about the girl's family situation with a sympathetic tone. Although the boy mentioned above was from a poor family, his family was normal. His parents loved him very much and paid great attention to his studies. The girl named Aling lived in a mess, but she was able to maintain excellent grades, which showed that she was very strong-willed and was a genius. As long as she is trained well, this girl will definitely become something great. Is her stepfather still willing to pay for her education?
Xia Tao asked.
Of course not. Huang Ling doesn't have to pay for school, and she can earn money. She earns a lot of scholarships every year, but her stepfather uses all that money for gambling. Gondefa became angry as he spoke. After learning about Huang Ling's situation last time, he found a few brothers, stuffed a sack around the stepfather, and gave him a severe beating. Huang Ling was willing to go to Jetta school, but her stepfather objected because he didn't want her to continue studying and wanted her to work in a nightclub to earn money. How much money can a college student make? Working as a dancer in a nightclub can earn more in one night than a college student earns in a month. I have supported her for 15 years, and it is time for me to enjoy her happiness. The stepfather said this shamelessly. No matter how Gondefa tried to reason with him, he would not give in. He even asked for an exorbitant amount, asking Gondefa to pay 1 million, otherwise he would never agree. Gondefa did not reveal his identity. He came as the school principal and certainly could not bully others by taking advantage of his power. I'm going to find some friends and throw this jerk into the sea to feed the sharks. Gondefa had the intention to kill. This kind of gambler didn't deserve to live. He should just go into the sea and be food. As long as this stepfather dies, Huang Ling can continue to go to school and have a bright future. I'll do it. Xia Tao took it over. She was good at this job. Before throwing her stepfather into the sea, she would cut him into pieces in case the shark's teeth were not strong enough to bite the whole thing. They arrived at the famous Kowloon walled city, a walled city of only 26,700 square meters, which is home to nearly 50,000 people. It is also the place with the highest crime rate in Hong Kong. Many horror scenes in Hong Kong dramas were shot here. It is said that even the government has given up on this place, and the Kowloon walled city is managed by gangs. Dirt, chaos, drugs, gambling, and prostitution are all concentrated here. There are also many illegal dental clinics, and they even dare to perform illegal operations on pregnant women. The violence and dirtiness here are so great that even movies dare not film them. It has been demolished and is now a park. It stinks. Xia Tao covered her nose. The stench here was unbearable even for a ninja like her. It was even stinkier than an old woman's foot binding. There is garbage littering the corridors and the ground, flies flying everywhere, and all kinds of sewage. Houses are built here and there are illegal buildings everywhere. Once you enter the corridor, it's like walking into a maze, and people who are not familiar with it will be unable to get out in a day. There are only 2 toilets and 8 water pipes here. The pipes are managed by the gang and water is collected at fixed times every day. Gondefa took them upstairs and introduced the situation of Kowloon walled city. His glory gang has no territory here, and it is mainly managed by Scar Lu and another gang. They walked through layer after layer of corridors and could hear ambiguous sounds along the way. They knew it was a wild business. The sound insulation was extremely poor, just like listening to a live broadcast. Here we are, this one. Gondefa stopped at the door of a room covered in paint. He frowned and had a bad feeling. The last time he came, he didn't throw paint. That gambler must have borrowed money from loan sharks again. Aling, wake up. From the room, Gondefa's face changed drastically. He kicked the door open. A strong smell of blood came out from inside. The girl was lying on the bed with a pale face. The blood from her body dripped onto the ground, forming a pool. The girl was already dying, but her mother just held her and cried without taking any action. Get out of the way. Gondefa pushed the middle-aged woman away, picked up the girl, and ran outside. Ruan Chichi took out a ginseng slice, stuffed it into the girl's mouth, and encouraged her in her ear. Hold on. When you wake up, you will see that the people who hurt you are dead. I promise.
Who are you?
Where are you taking Aling? Huang's mother rushed over anxiously, trying to take her daughter back, but when she saw Defa's appearance, she was so scared that she retreated back. Send him to the hospital, you go too. Gonda looked at her coldly, his already fierce face full of murderous intent, which made Huang's mother tremble, and said in a trembling voice, I have no money. Stop talking nonsense, are you going or not? Xia Tao, who was unusually calm after entering the room, suddenly grabbed Huang's mother's neck, and her cold hands tightened little by little. Huang's mother opened her mouth to breathe, and her face became more and more blue and purple.
I will.
Huang's mother said it with difficulty. She felt the murderous intent of the beautiful woman in front of her. If she dared to say no, this woman would definitely strangle her to death. Walk. Xia Tao let go of her hand and shouted coldly. Huang's mother lowered her head and followed behind submissively. Defa was holding the girl, and blood was dripping all the way. Someone saw it and shouted in surprise. What happened to Aling? Was she attacked by Shi Yanhui and the others?
No.
She fell and got hurt. Huang's mother spoke vaguely, but this clumsy lie could not fool the neighbors at all. The gambler in the Huang family owed Shi Yanhui so much money in high-interest loans, and he came to the house every day to throw paint. When the gambler refused to pay, he was so unscrupulous that he used Aling to pay off the debt. Aling's mother is also cruel. She wiped tears from her face and said she was sorry for her daughter, but in fact she didn't care about anything and even became an accomplice of her husband, a gambler. This couple are really birds of a feather. Neither of them is a good person. Yet, such a couple gave birth to 3 beautiful and sensible children, especially Aling, who is pretty and does well in studies. If they had such a smart and sensible daughter, they would laugh out loud in their dreams. It's a pity that, being born in such a family, no matter how smart you are, you can never get ahead. Moreover, Aling was deceived by Xianhui, that beast. Alas, such a good girl's family was ruined.
What a sin.
More and more people gathered around. They all knew Aling and wanted to come and see what was happening to the girl. However, they were scared away by Defa's fierce look. They thought that Huang Ling had been sold to someone else by her stepfather. Your Sai is such a scoundrel. Aling is only 16 years old and is doing so well in her studies. She doesn't even want you to pay for her education. You guys are trying to kill her. Asai is not her biological father, but you are her biological mother. Don't you feel sorry for Aling? The neighbors questioned Huang Ling one after another and felt very sympathetic towards her situation, but they were powerless. People living in Kowloon Walled City were all poor, and they could only make a few verbal condemnations. How can I not feel bad, but I can't do anything about it? I'm just a woman. How can I be the master of Akai? Huang's mother covered her face and cried while expressing her grievances and helplessness. The neighbors all looked at her with contempt. After living together for so many years, they knew very well what kind of person Huang's mother was. She had no sense of responsibility and could not live without a man. She could not live without a man for a day. The reason why she gave birth to Huang Ling's 3 siblings was not because she was loving, but because she didn't even have the money for an abortion, so she had to give birth to the children. Moreover, this woman gave birth to more than 3 children. The neighbors knew that she gave birth to at least 6. Only Huang Ling and her 2 siblings survived. The others were thrown away by this woman, and only she knew where they were thrown. Shut up. Xia Tao's cold voice sounded like she was going to kill someone. Everyone was so scared that they shut their mouths. Huang's mother held her face tightly and didn't dare to cry out. She was afraid that this beautiful woman would really kill her. Defa carried the girl downstairs. Wan Chichi opened the car door. He put the girl in the back seat, took off his haute couture suit, and put it under the girl. Let me die. The girl forced her eyes open and made a tiny sound, saying that she didn't want to live anymore and that no one should waste time on her. Please make sure you survive. Don't you want to see those who hurt you die one by one? Believe me, as long as you survive, they will definitely die, and die miserably. Yuan Qiqi tightly grasped the girl's hand, which was as cold as a dead person, and her gentle voice was unusually firm. The strength in her hands and the firmness in her voice seemed to give the girl an injection of cardiotonic, and she seemed to feel better.
Why?
Help me? Huang Ling's vision was a little blurry, and the person in front of her was vague, but she still remembered Gone Defa's appearance. He seemed to be the principal of Jada School. He had been to her house before and persuaded her to go to Jada School. The principal looked fierce, but he was a very kind person. He promised her very favorable conditions, and she agreed without hesitation. However, her stepfather opposed it and threatened her that if she dared to go to school, he would sell her younger brothers and sisters to a shady place. She knew that the man was capable of doing it, so she compromised. Her life was hopeless, but she hoped that her younger brothers and sisters could move on. Because you deserve it. Don't say anything. We'll be at the hospital soon. Everything will get better and better. Yuan Qiqi fed her some ginseng slices again. After Huang Ling asked those questions, she had exhausted all her strength and fell into endless darkness again. Gone Defa ran through many red lights along the way and arrived at the hospital at lightning speed. Doctor, come and save him.
Gone Defa rushed in holding Huang Ling.
His white shirt was covered in blood, and he looked so fierce. The doctors and nurses were all shocked. They were wondering when another gang fight broke out in the city. There was no news on TV. Although they were scared, the medical staff were very dedicated and quickly pushed Huang Ling into the operating room for emergency treatment. Yuan Qiqi and the others were waiting outside. Xia Tao was sitting alone beside them. She had a wooden expression on her face, no blood at all, and the coldness emanating from her body was colder than ice. Huang's mother stayed away from her, clasped her hands together and prayed, hoping that her daughter could be rescued. What's wrong with Miss Xia? Are you feeling unwell? Gone Defa finally noticed something was wrong with Xia Tao. Although she was usually cold, this girl was very energetic. Now, Xia Tao was like a living dead, and there was a strong sense of sadness about her, which made him feel uneasy. Xia Tao ignored him and immersed herself in memories of the past. Huang Ling's miserable condition reminded her of herself when she was 13 years old. Even though she had killed those old men, she still couldn't let it go. She hated them so much that she wanted to fly back right now, dig up their graves, whip their corpses, and grind their bones into ashes. Seeing her lifeless appearance, Gone Defa became even more worried and wanted to call a doctor. Leave her alone. Yuan Qiqi stopped him. She just remembered that the current Huang Ling is the same Xia Tao as before. She was probably thinking about the past. As outsiders, all they could do was not disturb her and let Xia Tao lick her wounds in peace. Xia Tao didn't feel uncomfortable for too long. She soon regained her energy and handed over a few strings of fish balls covered with chili sauce, which Gone Defa had bought. The fish balls here are delicious, and they're as good as my mom's, Gone Defa said with a smile. Xia Tao stared at him for a long time before taking the fish balls and said coldly, "Thank you." At this moment, she really needs delicious healing. You're welcome. If it's not enough, I'll buy more. Gone Defa grinned. Then go buy more. It's not enough. Xia Tao was not polite at all. Just a few skewers were not enough to fill her stomach. Gonda was stunned for a moment, then immediately ran out happily. After a while, he came back with dozens of skewers of fish balls. He bought all the fish balls on the old lady's stall. Even if Xia Tao had a big stomach, she couldn't finish so many fish balls. The rest were eaten by Gone Defa, but he couldn't eat anything too spicy. The fish balls were coated with thick chili sauce. After eating them, his face was covered with tears and his mouth was swollen from the spiciness. Puff! Seeing his miserable appearance, Xia Tao finally smiled and her bad mood improved instantly. Gone Defa also laughed foolishly, wiping his tears as he laughed. The door of the emergency room was pushed open and the doctor came out with a serious expression. He looked at Gone Defa as if he was examining a criminal. What is your relationship with the patient? Boyfriend? The doctor's tone was very cold. He was ready to call the police. The The patient was 3 months pregnant and had been bullied by many people, which resulted in the fetus dying in the womb and causing heavy bleeding. Although the poor girl's life was saved, she had lost her reproductive function. Although the doctor was used to seeing life and death in the emergency department, Huang Ling's miserable condition still made him extremely angry. No, I have nothing to do with the patient. No, the patient is my student. I am the principal of Jutta School. Defa habitually took out his business card from his pocket, but his suit was still in the car, so he ran back to get the business card, but most of it was soaked in blood. I'm sorry, it's all dirty. Defa picked out a cleaner one and handed it to the doctor with both hands. The doctor took it and looked at it. It was indeed the principal of Jutta School. His expression immediately eased and he asked kindly, "Do you know what happened to the patient?" "I don't know. I went to visit the family today. When we arrived, something had already happened, doctor. This is the patient's mother. She must know what happened." Defa dragged Huang's mother over and said coldly, "Tell the doctor what happened to your daughter." I don't know, I just fell down." Huang's mother didn't dare to look up and spoke timidly. "If you don't tell the truth, I will strangle you to death now." Xia Tao walked over like a ghost and grabbed Huang's mother's neck. Her cold eyes looked like the god of death. Huang's mother was so scared that she dared not hide anything anymore and confessed everything. Asai owed a loan shark, and those people came to throw paint at her house every day. We couldn't pay them, so they arrested Ling. They sent her back today, and that's it. I feel sorry for my daughter, but I can't do anything about it. Those people are so vicious, and they would really kill people. Huang's mother started to cry and complain about her grievances again, but just as she opened her mouth, Xia Tao glared at her, and she shut up, not daring to say a word. The doctor cursed under his breath. It's another gambler. Darn, this scumbag should be destroyed, humanitarian ally. How can he still get married and have children? He is so outstanding and handsome, but he still can't find a girlfriend. Where is justice? Principal Gon, come here for a moment. The doctor saw that Huang's mother was useless, so he pulled Defa aside to talk to her and explained Huang Ling's condition in detail. 3 months pregnant? And being bullied by so many people?
Gandues face darkened.
He thought it was only Shi and Hui. Darn it, he would go back and find his brothers to kill this jerk. If there weren't so many people involved, the patient wouldn't have had a stillbirth, and she wouldn't have had heavy bleeding. Her life was saved, but she was severely injured, and it will be difficult for her to get pregnant again in the future. The doctor sighed. The little girl's life had just begun, but it was ruined by the beast. Defa's face became increasingly ugly. Huang Ling's experience was even worse than he had thought. Whose child was this in her belly? With a sullen face, he strode over, dragged the crying Huang's mother to a corner, and asked fiercely, "Whose child is Huang Ling's?" I don't know." Huang's mother avoided his gaze and cried with her head down. "Don't challenge my patience, or I'll make you a widow." Defa knew that this woman could not live without a man. She was old and ugly now, and no man was willing to marry her. Only a gambler was willing to be with her, so she was submissive and obedient in front of her husband, and even sold out her daughter. As expected, Huang's mother was frightened and cried. It was Kai and his friend. He owed his friend money and drank too much that day. He didn't mean to do it. He repented afterwards. Defa gritted his teeth. He felt murderous for the second time and really wanted to kill this woman. Not worthy of being a mother at all. Why don't you just die? Xia Tao took action and knocked Huang's mother to the ground with 3 punches and 2 kicks. Huang's mother's jaw was dislocated and she couldn't make a sound. She was soon beaten into a ball, groaning miserably. The doctors and nurses saw it, but turned their heads away indifferently, pretending they didn't see anything. This irresponsible mother deserves to be beaten to death. Stop fighting, this is a hospital, let's talk outside. Defa stopped Xia Tao. If the fight continued, someone would die. There were too many people in the hospital, and it would be troublesome if the police were to be attracted. Xia Tao stopped and looked at Huang's mother, lying on the ground with a cold and ruthless look. In her eyes, the couple were already dead. Huang Ling was very weak and had been in a coma. None of the three of them knew how to take care of her, and Huang's mother could not be relied on. Ruan Qiqi called home and asked Ah Xiang to come to the hospital to take care of her. Ah Xiang came over with a cooked chicken soup, and Ruan Qiqi asked her to go over and gave her some instructions. Sister, don't worry. I took care of my mother in the first few months before she passed away. I have experience. Ah Xiang said with a smile. Thank you for your hard work. I will ask a nurse to help you. Ruan Qiqi was afraid that it would affect her studies, so she asked the hospital to hire a skilled nurse. With Ah Xiang in the hospital, Ruan Qiqi and the others left with peace of mind. However, an accident happened on the way. Gon Defa, who had been very strong all the way, fainted as soon as he walked out of the hospital. Xia Tao pinched his Renzhong point hard, and he woke up quickly. He went back to change his clothes, and they returned to Kowloon Walled City again. It was already dark, and the lights on the street were turned on. The voltage in Kowloon Walled City was unstable, and the lights flickered, making the densely packed and dark buildings look like a haunted house. Shi Yanhui is a subordinate of Scar Lu's mortal enemy. He is in charge of the casino in Kowloon and specializes in loan sharking. He has killed many people. Gon Defa introduced. Kill him. Xia Tao didn't say a word.
These people had to die. Good.
Gon Defa agreed readily. He also wanted to kill these jerks. Of the Huang family was ajar, and the bright red paint on the door looked like blood. Gon Defa pushed the door open, and a cheerful voice came from inside. Sister, are you back? A pretty girl in her teens ran out. She looked somewhat like Huang Ling in her eyes and eyebrows, and was wearing a washed-out school uniform. She was Huang Ling's sister Huang Zhen, who went to a public school and was also a good student. Huang Zhen didn't see her elder sister, and her eyes became dim. A beautiful boy of 7 or 8 years old also came out. The brother and sister were close together. Huang Zhen slightly turned sideways and stood in front of her brother. She mustered up her courage and said, "We don't have any money. Go ask Lu Kai for money." Gurgle. The brother and sister held their stomachs embarrassedly. They had not eaten anything since last night. When they were hungry, they could only go to the toilet and drink tap water. They didn't have to pay tuition to go to school, but meals were not provided. In the past, it was the scholarship earned by the eldest sister that was used to buy them food. Yesterday, the eldest sister was taken away by Shi Yanhui's people and has not returned yet. They are so worried about her. Can you please let my elder sister go? She has no money. Please let my elder sister go, okay? Huang Zhen suddenly knelt down, hugged Gon Defa's legs, and begged desperately. Her brother also knelt down and hugged Gon Defa's other leg. The brother and sister cried with tears in their eyes, looking so pitiful. Your eldest sister is in the hospital. She's fine now. I'll take you to dinner. Ruan Qiqi helped the two children up. Their backs were full of bones, and they would hurt their hands when they touched them. The brother and sister hesitated for a few minutes and thought that Ruan Qiqi looked like a good person, so they followed them. There were many restaurants nearby, and Ruan Qiqi picked a clean one and ordered a lot of food. The two children ate politely at first, but they were so hungry that they soon wolfed down the food without even chewing it. Eat slowly, no one will snatch it from you. The brother and sister slowed down a bit, but still ate fast. Even if they were very full, they still stuffed their mouths with food, because after this meal, they didn't know when the next meal would be, so they had to eat more to fight hunger.
Don't eat it.
Eat it tomorrow. Ruan Qiqi stopped them, saying that overeating would harm the health of children. The brother and sister looked at the remaining food on the table reluctantly, but still stopped eating. Ruan Qiqi was worried about leaving the two children behind, so she asked Gon Defa's men to take the two children to the hospital to see Huang Ling. Brother Gon, we can't let the child stay in the hospital forever, right? Asked the subordinate. Send him to my parents and let them take care of him for a few days. Gon Defa couldn't think of a good solution, so he had to trouble his parents. The men took the brother and sister away. It was already dark. The neon lights on the street cast an ambiguous light. Several heavily made-up women were standing on the side of the road, greeting the men passing by in a coquettish manner. Some men would stop, negotiate the price, and then walk away with the women in their arms, while the rest of the women continued to solicit customers. Huang's mother had already returned home. She didn't care that the other two children were not at home. She took out the money she had hidden under the bed and prepared to go out for a bowl of noodles. She was almost starving to death. "You're still hiding your own money. Are you tired of living?" The drunk man just returned home and saw the money in Huang's mother's hand. He snatched it away and beat her up. Huang's mother held her head and cried for mercy, but the man remained indifferent and beat her even harder. "Useless thing. The daughter she gave birth to is useless. She can't even serve anyone. She's like a piece of wood. No wonder Brother Hui is so angry. Where's that little cousin? I'll give her 3 days to rest, and she'll go to work in the nightclub after 3 days. I'll even take the deposit." After counting the money, the man felt even worse. It was just the money for a bowl of noodles, not even enough to buy a chip for the casino. "You are such a useless thing. No one wants it even if I sell it. I am so unlucky to marry a useless jerk like you." The man went away cursing. Although he couldn't afford to go to the casino, he still had other ways to play. He could go find some friends to play small games. Maybe he could get lucky and make his money back. However, the man was knocked unconscious by a fist as big as a casserole just as he opened the door. Before Huang's mother could even scream, she was kicked unconscious by Xia Tao. Kowloon Walled City is a lawless area. If someone is killed here, the police are unwilling to come and the residents turn a blind eye and dare not interfere. So, when they saw Gon Defa and Xia Tao carrying the Huang couple away, no one said a word. Brother Hui asked them to go for questioning. Gon Defa said with a cold face. No one else had any doubts. Since Lu Kai owed so much high-interest loan sharks, it was normal for Xianhui to look for him and his wife. Judging from the situation, the couple would not survive. I took the couple to the beach. The tide rose in the evening, and the waves hit the rocks, creating high splashes of water. Gon Defo wanted to throw the man directly into the sea, but was stopped by Xia Tao. "I can't let them get away with it so easily. Watch me." Xia Tao took out her exclusive toolbox and opened it, revealing knives of various shapes. Huang's mother and Lu Kai both woke up and looked at them in horror. "Please have mercy on me and let me go. I have a beautiful daughter, prettier than a star. As long as you let me go, you can take my daughter away. If one is not enough, there is also a little one. I'll give them all to you." Lu Kai knelt on the ground and kowtowed for mercy. He shamelessly betrayed his daughter again and even spared the younger one. Huang's mother recognized them and collapsed to the ground with fear. The beautiful woman wanted to kill her during the day, and now in this desolate mountain and wilderness, the woman would definitely not show mercy. "She can't survive. I have 2 children who can't live without me. Please let me go." Huang's mother didn't want to die, so she moved her 2 young children out. "With you here, they can't survive. Stop talking nonsense." Xia Tao didn't want to listen to their noise anymore, so she raised her knife and cut their vocal cords cleanly. What followed was a visual feast of violence and blood. Wan Qiqi was already used to it and watched calmly. Gon Defa pinched his palm hard and stared with wide eyes, his face pale, without a trace of blood. "If you are afraid of blood, stay away and don't look at it." Seeing that he was doing such a strange and sinful thing, Wan Qiqi advised him to stop watching. "It's okay. I'm not that serious now. I didn't faint in the hospital before." Gon Defa refused. He felt that he could overcome it. Miss Xia was such a brave girl, and he couldn't hold her back. Until Xia Tao completed the art of division, Gon Defa held on firmly, his eyes wide open, staring at the 2 pieces of meat on the beach. The tide was rising higher and higher, and soon it washed the beach clean, leaving no trace. "Let's go find Xianhui and the others." Xia Tao curled the corners of her mouth in satisfaction. As expected, blood made her happier. She would be even happier after killing those scums like Xianhui. "Hey, you didn't faint?" To see Gon Defa standing straight. "I've made progress." Gon Defa smiled naively, then fell backwards and landed on the beach. The base of his hands were bleeding from being pinched. Is he stupid? Xia Tao didn't understand. If he fainted because of blood, he would faint. He was pinched to death like this, but he still fainted. He was really not very smart.
It's really stupid.
Ruan Chichi smiled. One was affectionate, while the other was still ignorant. Gon Defa still had to wait. Xia Tao pinched the philtrum skillfully, and soon Gon Defa climbed up nimbly and looked refreshed. Shi Yanhui was in the casino, and those jerks who bullied Huang Ling were also there. Ruan Chichi and Bonsai in the casino asked around and found out who they were. Before she even made a move, Xia Tao and Gon Defa had already taken care of it. They smashed the casino to pieces, took Shi Yanhui and those jerks away, and also robbed the jerk who had bullied Huang Ling together with Lu Kai and made her pregnant. They came to the seaside again and were separated by Xia Tao as usual. The waves swept away everything, and they left no trace in this world. The next day, Ruan Chichi went to the hospital. Huang Ling had woken up and looked much better than yesterday. Don't get up. Just lie down. I have good news for you. Your parents haven't come home yet. They were probably taken away by Zai Yanhui's people. They may never come back. Ruan Chichi held her down and told her the good news. Huang Ling was stunned for a moment and asked anxiously, "How are my brother and sister?" "They are fine. Principal Gon has taken them home. Don't worry." "Thank you.
I
will find a way to earn money to pay you back." Huang Ling breathed a sigh of relief. As long as her younger brother and sister were fine, she didn't want to die now. She had to pay back the huge medical bills she owed. "I have another piece of good news for you. Shi Yanhui and several of his men have also disappeared inexplicably. They were probably chopped into pieces by their enemies. Huang Ling, Jada School now invites you solemnly. Are you willing to come to school?" Ruan Chichi asked with a smile. Huang Ling was stunned, her eyes full of disbelief. Is there any school willing to accept her in such a condition? You really want me? I'm. She lowered her head in shame, her thin, bloodless hands tightly clutching the quilt. The wrinkled sheets were just like her mood at the moment, unable to calm down. You ranked 3rd in the city's joint entrance exam. Why wouldn't we accept you? As long as you are willing to come to Jeddah, tuition will be waived, and you will be given 500 yuan a month for living expenses. The scholarship will depend on your grades. If you can rank in the top 3 in your grade, I guarantee that your scholarship will be the highest in the city. Ruan Chichi's tone was the same as usual, and there was nothing unusual in her eyes, as if she was chatting with an ordinary student. Huang Ling's mood gradually calmed down. She slowly raised her head, and her eyes became brighter. Ruan Chichi's words gave her a lot of confidence. What she was most confident in was studying. She could easily solve those questions that seemed difficult to others. She seldom attended lectures because what the teachers said was too simple, and she could learn faster by reading books on her own. Therefore, she had enough confidence to get the highest scholarship. I'm sure I can get it, Mrs. Ruan. Huang Ling's tone was firm. She said that for her younger siblings and herself, she would definitely cheer up. And she was very happy because her mother, stepfather, and Shi Yanhui were all in trouble, and no one would bully her and her younger siblings anymore. I also believe that you will be able to get it.
Have a good rest.
There is no need to worry about the medical expenses. You can pay it back slowly when you earn money in the future. Ruan Chichi comforted gently. The child was too weak. He was malnourished and had lost so much blood, so his body was badly damaged. Fortunately, he was still young. Plus, she asked Ah Hong to make nourishing soup for him every day, adding a lot of blood replenishing and qi replenishing herbs. He should be able to recover within a month. Thank you and Principal Gon and that beautiful sister. Huang Ling's face was full of gratitude. She didn't completely faint yesterday, and she vaguely remembered some things. If Mrs. Ruan and Principal Gon hadn't arrived in time, she might have really died. She is the Dean of Studies. Her last name is Xia. She is very strict. Ruan Chichi smiled. Ah Xiang came just in time, so she went back to get some tonic soup. Today we have chicken soup again. Sister Hong simmered it on low heat for several hours and added medicinal herbs. Drink it while it's hot. Ah Xiang poured out a bowl of soup from the thermos, and a strong smell of medicine overflowed. Although Huang Ling didn't know anything about medicine, She could guess that this bowl of chicken soup was not cheap. She did not say any more words of gratitude, but kept it in her heart silently, and secretly vowed to study hard and repay this kindness after she became successful. After Wan Qiqi left, she still had to pry away at the feet of two other top teachers. Met Xia Tao at the hospital gate, as well as Huang Ling's younger brother and sister. The two children looked much better, no longer as pale and thin as they were yesterday. "Where is Gone Defa?" Wan Qiqi asked. "Stop the car. Where are you going?" Xia Tao asked.
Poaching.
"Wait, together." Xia Tao shouted towards the parking lot. "Why are you taking so long to give birth?" "Here it comes." Gone Defa came running over and explained. "Someone couldn't park his car properly, so I helped him park it." "If you can't park the car properly, you shouldn't drive it out. Can you help him park it forever? Do you think you're doing good things for others? In fact, you are harming others. Don't help him anymore." Xia Tao lectured with a cold face, saying that she had never seen anyone who liked to do good things more than this big fool. Even if he suffered a loss, he would not learn the lesson and would continue to act foolishly. "You rewrite. I won't park for anyone anymore." Gone Defa accepted the criticism with an open mind. Xia Tao's words might sound cold at first, but upon closer thought they made a lot of sense, a point he had never thought of before. It's not just parking, it's the same with other things, like the day before yesterday when a couple was fighting and you sided with that zitch, but the zitch sided with her husband and beat you up. Don't you think you're stupid? Yes, I am indeed stupid. I will never care about a couple fighting again. From now on, I will be in charge of the internal affairs of the school, and you will be in charge of the external affairs. You act stupidly all day long. Don't mess up my school. Okay, you take care of the inside, and I'll take care of the outside. Gone Defa blurted out. Then he was stunned, then lowered his head and smiled secretly. "Just so you know." Xia Tao snorted complacently. It was lucky that the school had her. Otherwise it would have been destroyed sooner or later. Wan Qiqi was laughing as she listened to this. These two people were quite a good match. She also followed him back to the ward. Huang Ling had just finished a bowl of chicken soup, and Xiang was talking to her. "Sister is a very kind person. Even the bodhisattvas in heaven are not as good as her. You study so well, you will definitely have a great future. Now you just need to take care of your health. As the quotations say, health is the capital of revolution. Without a good body, you can't accomplish anything." Xiang was particularly envious. She attended night school and could not understand a lot of what the teacher said. Learning was very difficult for her. She envied those who were good at studying because their brains were worth 10 of hers. "Thank you, Sister Xiang. I will study hard and repay Mrs. Ruan, Principal Gone, and Director Xia in the future." Huang Ling nodded with a determined look. She would try her best to forget the past. One must look forward. She would not give up on herself because of the things done by the evil people. Instead, she has to work hard to live a more wonderful life, and become a strong person like Mrs. Ruan. In the future, she will also help those girls who are suffering. That's what I thought too.
Xiang Smiled.
She and Huang Ling were of similar age and got along very well. Although they had only known each other for 2 days, they were already very familiar with each other. The two smiled at each other and felt closer. "Ling, can I trouble you with something?" "What's up?" "I don't quite understand a lot of what the teacher said. Can I ask you for help?"
Sure.
"Thank you, Ailing. I'm welcome then. You don't know. Every time I go to ask the teacher, I only half understand what she says, and I don't dare to ask more because the teacher will be annoyed. Fortunately, I have you." Xiang smiled happily, and Huang Ling was also smiling. She was very happy to be able to help Sister Xiang. Wan Qiqi and the others listened at the door for a while and were happy for the two hardworking and ambitious girls. She pushed open the door, and Huang Zhen and her brother rushed in. "Big sister." The 3 siblings hugged each other and cried and laughed. "We stayed at Principal Gon's parents' house last night. We ate a lot of food and they bought us new clothes." "Big sister, your face is so pale. Did Shi Yanhui bully you?" Huang Zhen looked at her elder sister worriedly. Although she was young, she already knew a lot of things because she lived in Kowloon Walled City. The little girl vaguely guessed that something bad must have happened to her elder sister. She didn't know how to comfort her and could only cry. It's okay. Mom and Lu Kai are dead, and Xianhui is dead too. No one will bully us anymore. Huang Ling told me good news. The two children were stunned for a few seconds, then they were overjoyed and said in unison, "Is he really dead? That's great. Real. Sister, I have some money from my grandparents. Can I go buy some firecrackers?" The pocket money given by Gon's mother from her pocket and asked in a low voice. "I have some too. Do you want to ask the Heavenly Master to block their way? Don't let them come back?" My younger brother also took out the money and asked worriedly. "On the 7th day, they must not be allowed to come back, and we must ask the Taoist priest to block their way home. Today I encountered a very infuriating thing. When I was feeding stray cats, 3 drunks came over and kept saying that they wanted to catch the cats and stew them. I started arguing with them. Fortunately, the cats were smart and ran away. I felt upset afterwards. If only I had practiced boxing, I would have beaten them to a pulp. So, I decided to write them in a very miserable way in the book. Don't worry, we have asked the Heavenly Master to suppress them in the 18 levels of hell. They will never get out." Wan Chi comforted the 3 siblings. "In fact, Lu Kai is my younger brother's biological father, but this man is worse than a beast. He beats and scolds his own child and has no humanity at all. That's great. Thank God." Huang Zhen and his brother put their hands together and bowed towards the sky several times, which was both funny and sad to watch. Huang Ling knew that this was what Wan Chi did to coax her younger siblings, and she guessed that Xianhui, her mother, and Lu Kai were most likely killed by Mrs. Wan and her friends. "Very nice. Your brothers and sisters can also go to Jiada School. The school will bear the tuition fees, food, and accommodation. The only requirement is that you study hard, give back to society in the future, and help other people in need."
Can you do it?
Wan Chi asked. "I can do it, ma'am. I'm second in the class." Huang Zhen said loudly. "I can do it too. The teacher praised me for being smart." The younger brother raised his hand. "Very good." Wan Chi touched the heads of the 2 children. It was really a good thing that good things came out of bad bamboos. Even Huang Ling's mother herself didn't know the biological father of the 2 sisters. A woman like her didn't know how to raise children at all. At most, she could just keep the children from being hungry. But the 3 children all grew up well, better than many children who were raised with great care. The brother and sister stayed in the hospital to accompany their eldest sister. Today was probably the happiest day for the 3 siblings. Huang Ling in the ward laughed out loud, which was rare for her, and she seemed to be in much better spirits. "Duck, I should have cut more." After leaving the hospital, Xia Tao suddenly cursed. She shouldn't have been chopped into pieces last night, but should have been cut into pieces. If you cut it too small, the shark won't be able to fit in its teeth and won't be able to eat it. Gon Defa comforted sincerely, because that was what he thought. "Yes, you are right. I'll cut it into bigger pieces next time." Xia Tao nodded. For the first time, she did not refute. She even decided not to use Lingqi anymore. She would just cut the body into pieces and throw them into the sea to feed the sharks. Hong Kong is a really nice place. There are delicious foods, and it is a good place to dump corpses. Once the waves roll in, no trace is left. It is really a feng shui treasure land. "Which one do you want to cut next time?" Gon Defa asked very patiently. He did not think Xia Tao was cold-blooded. Instead, he thought she was very kind because she killed those who deserved to be killed. This was called acting in the name of justice. "I haven't thought of it yet. If you find someone like Xianhui, remember to tell me." "Okay, I'll definitely tell you. When you cut, call me, and I'll be your assistant. You are afraid of blood, so I ask you to lie down like a corpse? I've improved a little bit now, and I'm not so dizzy anymore." "Okay, I'll call you next time." The 2 walked side by side, Gon Defa in a suit and tie, while Xia Tao wore a white long skirt with a sweater of the same color. The 2 looked like a combination of Beauty and the Beast. Although their images were not very harmonious, the 2 walked very close and talked so intimately, which made them seem particularly harmonious. People passing by thought they were dating and smiled knowingly. There was also a young couple. After hearing the last few words, the wife was particularly envious. She poked her husband hard and complained in a low voice. Other husbands try their best to go into the kitchen to cook even if they are afraid of blood. Look at you, you are not afraid of blood, and you have all your limbs intact. It's harder for you to go into the kitchen than to go to the moon. I'm working hard to make money. Otherwise, how can you buy beautiful bags? How come you don't know that they don't make any money? Maybe they make more money than you. If you insist on saying that, why don't you look at how beautiful other people's wives are? You said I'm not pretty?
No. Oh.
The couple had a quarrel while chatting. The wife walked away with a cold face, while the husband followed her and kept saying nice things to her. The two people who caused all this were still immersed in the chat and were completely unaware. Ruan Chichi was the only one watching the show, and she was laughing so hard that her cheeks were sore. The first stop was the home of the top teacher for primary school students to enter junior high school. She was a female teacher in her 40s, surnamed Chen. Her home was quite crowded, with a family of 4 plus a Filipino maid living in a house of more than 30 square meters. Although it was crowded, it was tidy and did not look messy. You again? Principal gone, I won't go to your school. I appreciate your appreciation, but I'm doing well now and don't want to change places. Teacher Chen's attitude was very good, but his tone was very firm. She is already 40 years old. She is not as adventurous as she was when she was young. Now she just wants stability and does not want to move easily. Jiada were very tempting. It was a new school after all. If she failed to achieve results, her reputation as a gold medal teacher would be ruined. Once reputation fell, it would be difficult to raise it again. She could not afford the risk. Teacher Chen, what you are worried about is that the admission rate will not be improved and will affect your reputation, right? Ruan Chichi asked. Yes, don't blame me for speaking rudely. Your Jiada is a new school and I am 40 years old. I don't have the courage of a young person to gamble. Teacher Chen also spoke frankly. I can't guarantee you the enrollment rate. After all, no one can guarantee the future. But I can guarantee that as long as you are willing to go to Guardian, I will let you and your husband divorce smoothly, and I will guarantee that he will stop harassing you and the children. How about that? Just now, Ruan Chichi chatted with a pot of orchid on the windowsill for a while and learned that Teacher Chen's marriage had been in crisis for a long time, but her husband was a scoundrel who kept dragging his feet and refused to divorce, and even threatened to kill her and the child. Teacher Chen looked a little unhappy and said angrily, "Are you investigating my private affairs?" No, as a school director, it's normal for me to care about the lives of the school's teachers, right? Teacher Chen, as long as you agree, I will make your husband agree to a divorce within 3 days and leave Hong Kong forever. Ruan Chichi's tone was gentle, but extremely firm. Teacher Chen's expression relaxed a lot, and hesitantly asked, "Can you really get him to agree to a divorce? He's not that easy to talk to. That man is a shameless scoundrel. Otherwise, she wouldn't have dragged it out for so many years without getting a divorce. Don't worry, he will definitely speak nicely to me. As an employee of Guardian, you just need to educate the students well and ensure the enrollment rate. Leave the rest to the school. I will ensure that the teachers have no worries." Ruan Chichi promised with a smile that if he dared to disobey, he would be thrown onto the mountain to feed the trees. She hasn't killed anyone for a long time, and she hopes that Teacher Chen's man won't make her want to kill. Okay, as long as you can do it, I'm willing to go to Guardian. Teacher Chen made up her mind. She really wanted to get rid of that scoundrel and live a quiet life with her 2 children. By the way, do you still have feelings for your man? If you still have feelings, I will be more patient. Ruan Chichi asked directly. I wish he was dead. Teacher Chen gritted his teeth, his face full of hatred. She worked hard outside to earn money to support the family, but the man didn't work or do housework. He just ate, drank, and had fun every day. If she didn't have money, he would ask her for it, and if she didn't give it, he would lose his temper. Under this shadow, the 2 children became silent. She often woke up in the middle of the night, looking at her sleeping husband, and wanted to kill him with a knife. But she couldn't do it. It wasn't because she was afraid, but because she was worried that if something happened to her, no one would take care of her 2 children. Okay, that's easy. Ruan Chichi smiled, fearing that Teacher Chen still had feelings for her and was filled with deep hatred and resentment. The 3 of them were leaving. A middle-aged man who was drunk came back. When he saw them, he squinted his eyes, didn't even say hello, stretched out his hand to Teacher Chen and said shamelessly, "Give me money." "Where's the money I gave you yesterday?" "I have no money left." Teacher Chen lowered her voice. She felt so ashamed and even more annoyed that she didn't listen to her parents and insisted on marrying this jerk. When she was young, she only thought that love was enough to satisfy her and that if they worked hard together, they would definitely be able to live a good life. But after getting married, she realized that she was the only one struggling and her husband was lazy and gluttonous. In the first few years, he would take great pains to coax her, but later on he was too impatient to even coax her and would only ask for money. His temper also became worse and worse, and the children and the Filipino maid were afraid of him. "How can you, a top-ranked teacher, be without money? Give it to me now. I want to treat my friends to a drink." The man became impatient and went straight to his wife's bag. After searching for a long time, he couldn't find any money. He was so angry that he threw the bag away while cursing and staggered to the bedroom. Teacher Chen's face changed drastically, and he rushed in. Soon the sound of the couple fighting could be heard from the room. "This is the bracelet my mother gave me. Are you still human? Who knows which mistress gave it to me? I'm not that easy to fool. Give it to me." The man pushed his wife away, snatched the gold bracelet, and ran away. Such a heavy bracelet could be exchanged for a lot of money, enough for him to drink for a while. But he couldn't run away because Gondefa grabbed his collar from behind. "Duck, you old." The man could finish his curse. He was frightened by Gonda's ferocious appearance and shut up and handed over the bracelet obediently. Xia Tao looked at him coldly, with murderous intent. A man who is of no use to the family and only drags down his family should be fed to sharks. Teacher Chun is now an employee of our school. If you bully her again, the Glory Gang will not let you go. Gondefa raised his fist, which was as big as a casserole, which was quite intimidating. No, we have a very good relationship. We just quarrel." The man who bullies the weak and fears the strong said nice things timidly, for fear of angering Gondefa. "Teacher Chen, if he dares to cause trouble at home again, call me." Gondefa left a business card with the gang's office phone number on it. There was someone on duty 24 hours a day.
Good.
Teacher Chen took the business card with both hands. He felt warm in his heart, and for the first time he felt at ease. No one had ever helped her before. Her family had long since stopped communicating with her, and she didn't have the face to ask for help. Her school leaders and colleagues had no idea about her family situation, so she was too embarrassed to tell anyone. Today was the first time someone stood up for her and taught this scoundrel a lesson, and she felt particularly at ease. Gonda gave the man a cold look, and the man was trembling with fear, not daring to breathe. After they left, the man dared to raise his head and raised his hand to teach his wife a lesson. Hit me to death if you can." Teacher Chen raised the business card in his hand and for the first time had the courage to confront him head-on. Because she was sure that this scoundrel didn't have the courage to kill anyone, and now that she had someone to back her up, she was not afraid. As expected, the man hesitated, put down his raised hand, and ran out angrily. Teacher Chen breathed a sigh of relief and held the business card tightly in her hand. She made a decision that even if Jiada School could not get Wu Lai to agree to a divorce, she would still go to Jiada. So far, only Jiada can make her rogue husband behave himself, and just for this reason, she has to work there. Ruan Chi and the others first went to the home of Teacher Li, a famous college entrance examination gold medal teacher in the city, a single man who looked to be in his early 30s. He lived in a high-end apartment of about 800 square feet, which is considered a luxury house in Hong Kong. The decoration, home appliances, and furniture in the house are all very tasteful and expensive, which shows that Teacher Li is a person who has high demands on life and can both earn money and spend money. "My contract with Rongda has not expired yet." Teacher Lee still refused. The contract is not a problem. As long as you are willing to come to China Guardian, I will take care of the contract. Gon Defa said sincerely. Principal Gon, thank you for your appreciation. There are many excellent teachers in the city. I can recommend a few to you. Teacher Lee said with a smile. Okay, the one recommended by Teacher Lee must be excellent, but I want you more, come with me. Gon Defa didn't make any choices at all. He accepted everyone who came, because the school was short of teachers anyway. Mr. Lee's face froze. He said helplessly, I can guarantee the reputation of Rongda, but I can't guarantee it if I go to your guardian. I won't go. The top 10 students in the city's joint exam are all from Arjata. Although Teacher Lee is a top-notch teacher, a good general needs good soldiers to fight a good battle. Don't you think so? Gon Defa asked, very sincerely, and took out 10 contracts for him to see. Teacher Lee is very familiar with the top 10 students in the city's joint entrance examination. Those were the students he had reserved a long time ago. How come they all went to Jada? Looking at the familiar names on the contract one after another, his expression became strange, and he couldn't help asking, You spent a lot of money, right? Money is not a problem. Jada has no shortage of money. Teacher Lee, which other students do you want? I will find them all for you. Gonda asked with a chutzpah. Teacher Lee pondered for a few seconds, stood up and took out a form from the drawer. On it was the ranking list of the city's joint entrance examination. He circled a few names, all ranked in the top 100. If I can get these, I'll go to Guardian. No problem. Gon Defa agreed readily. Wan Chi took a look at the ranking list. The total scores of those circled students were not particularly high, but their performance in certain subjects was particularly unbalanced. They all scored almost full marks in science, but failed in liberal arts. These students are good at liberal arts. Why don't you want them? Xia Tao also came over to take a look, pointed out a few names, and asked. These students' IQs are definitely good, but they don't have a talent for science. They will have a hard time doing well in exams, and their admission rates cannot be guaranteed. But if you're willing, you can recruit them. Teacher Lee told the truth that he only focused on the college entrance examination results and the admission rate was the most important, so he preferred students who were good at science. If they are good at arts, they can study arts.
Why do you look down on them?
Recruit them. Xia Tao got angry. She circled these students with a red pen and threw it to Gon Defa. Okay, I'll go dig. Gon Defa nodded vigorously. He also felt that education should not be biased, and that children who were good at liberal arts were also worthy of special training. Teacher Lee couldn't help but laugh, and he felt more favorable towards the newly established Jada school. They left Teacher Lee's house. It was getting dark. Wan Chi decided to find Teacher Chen's man and have a good chat. Xia Tao insisted on following him. Although Gon Defa wanted to go, he still had to poach students, so they had to act separately. The man was not at home, and Wan Chi found him in an alley near Chen's house. Meow. The cat's shrill cries came from the alley, along with a man's curses. This jerk is torturing a cat. Who told you to glare at me? I gave you the face you deserve, and you're still yelling? I'll beat you to death. The man kicked a cow cat so hard that the cat could no longer move. It screamed miserably, and its beautiful big eyes were full of despair. Yes, the author is so petty, huh? Meow. When the cat saw Wan Chi and the others, its eyes lit up and it screamed with all its strength, as if asking for help. Didn't you hear me when I told you to stop yelling? I'll beat you to death, you beast. How dare you be so mean to me? I'm not afraid of you. The man vented all the frustration he had suffered at the hands of Gon Defa on the cat. He raised his foot high, ready to give the cat a fatal kick. He smiled smugly, and his face, red from alcohol, looked particularly hideous under the dim street lights.
Duck.
Xia Tao rushed over and kicked the man to the ground. Meow. The cow cat curled up into a ball and tried to stand up, but it was too badly injured. It staggered to its feet, then fell down again, looking at them with gratitude with its big amber eyes. Wan Chi squatted down and stuffed the ginseng slices into the cat's mouth. This cow was not very old, only 4 or 5 months old at most, and was skinny, with several animal bites on its body. It was obvious that in addition to being bullied by human scum, there were other animals bullying it. Meow the kitten was very smart and felt the abundant spiritual energy in the ginseng slices. It stuck out its pink tongue, licked Ruan Chi-Chi's hand a few times, and then ate the ginseng slices bit by bit. Get up, I'll give you a chance. Get up and fight me, I'll give you 3 more moves. Xia Tao grabbed the man and gave him a chance to resist.
I
didn't bully Chen Jishan. I didn't even go home. Why did you hit me? A good man doesn't fight with a woman. I won't bother with you. Stop meddling in my business. The man recognized them, and seeing that Gondefa was not there, he became much braver. He thought they were just 2 women with thin arms and legs, and he was sure he could beat them. However, he still didn't dare to do anything, for fear of being in trouble with the Rong Yao gang. I'm going to hit you. Xia Tao sneered and slapped the man, stunning him. Then he became furious and rushed over howling, ready to teach her a lesson. But before he could swing his fist, Xia Tao kicked him away. He fell heavily to the ground and didn't get up for a long time. Stand up. Xia Tao walked over and pulled him up again. Lady, I was wrong. Please let me go. The man who bullies the weak and fears the strong was scared. He begged for mercy with tears in his eyes and was as cowardly as a piece of rotten meat. Get up. If you keep crying, I'll kill you. Xia Tao kicked the man hard, and he cried loudly in pain, refusing to get up no matter what. He was afraid that he would be killed by this vicious woman if he got up. Ruan Chi-Chi walked over and asked coldly, How many cats did you bully? It's just this one. I was in a bad mood. This cat kept barking at me, which annoyed me, so I took action. I was wrong. I will never bully cats again. Can you 2 ladies please forgive me? The man cried so hard that his eyes were filled with tears, but he cursed his bad luck in his heart. He deliberately chose a dark alley to do it with this beast, and he was actually seen by these 2 women. He would have to find a more secluded place to do it next time. Every day. He can't even beat his wife. If he hurts her, who will earn money for him? I didn't dare to hit my children or the Filipino maid, as if I did, I would be caught by the police and taken to justice. After much thought, only stray cats can be bullied. No one will care even if they are beaten to death. They are just animals. No one will have time to care about the life and death of a stray cat after having eaten their fill.
Pa.
Ruan Chi-Chi pulled out the bone whip and whipped the man hard. The man opened his mouth to scream, but Xia Tao kicked him and broke his jaw. You still don't tell the truth even when you are about to die. Tell me, how many cats did you bully? Ruan Chi-Chi whipped the man again, and blood seeped out of his clothes. His face was distorted in pain, and sweat covered his forehead. The man screamed in pain, his eyes anxious. He wanted to answer, but no sound came out. He is still stubborn and refuses to repent. He continues to smoke. Xia Tao said coldly. He who won't cry until he sees the coffin. Ruan Chi-Chi snorted coldly and whipped the man several times in a row. The man rolled on the ground in pain, tears, sweat and blood mixed together, and his eyes became more anxious. He is not stubborn. He wants to say something, but he can't say it. He's still glaring at you. Beat him to death. Xia Tao wished she could grab the whip and whip herself. The man was about to vomit blood in anxiety. He felt more wronged than Do-e. Why the heck wasn't it snowing yet? He is almost killed unjustly. Ruan Chi-Chi whipped him a few more times before stopping. It was not because she was showing mercy, but because men could not help being whipped. If she continued whipping him, someone would die. Just now she chatted with Shushu on the roadside for a while. This man often bullied the stray cats nearby and killed at least 10 stray cats. If they hadn't rushed over today, this cow cat would definitely have been beaten to death by this jerk. Like these who only dare to abuse small animals, but Ruan Chi-Chi has a way. Tell me the truth, how many cats did you bully? Ruan Chi-Chi raised the bone whip in the air a few times, and the man on the ground trembled a few times, his pupils contracted in fear. He opened his mouth wide, trying hard to make a sound, but to no avail. Instead, a lot of saliva flowed out of his mouth, and his clothes were wet. His jaw hasn't closed yet, wait. Xia Tao finally noticed it, walked over and kicked the man's chin, and with a click, the jaw closed. The man was so moved that he shed tears. He didn't care about his wounds and confessed honestly, "I know I was wrong. I will never bully cats again. Please forgive me, please? You bullied a few cats and you don't understand what people say?" Wan Chichi whipped the bone whip a few times in the air, and the man trembled with fear. He recalled and answered carefully, I can't remember clearly.
Pa.
The bone whip lashed towards him like a snake, stopping a few centimeters away from his face. More than a dozen, I can't remember exactly. The man confessed promptly, and the number was more than what Shushu said. Apparently, he had abused cats in other places. That's 20. Wan Chichi concluded coldly that she looked at the man with disgust, and killing him would dirty her hands, so she decided to punish the jerk in other ways. I'll feed it to the sharks. Xia Tao took the initiative to request that it would be a waste of food and air to keep this kind of scum alive. It would be better to feed it to sharks. It's a pity to feed it to the sharks. Send it to film. Chun Mayer is in need of a partner recently. The money earned can be used to provide scholarships to students. Wan Chichi thought of a way to have the best of both worlds. This jerk man looks really good, with fair skin and delicate flesh. If he dresses up well, he will definitely be a box office guarantee.
No.
I will change. I am the pillar of the family. My wife and children cannot live without me. Please let me go.
Please.
When the man heard the name Chin Mayer, he immediately understood, because he had also seen the movies Chin Mayer had filmed, and it was indeed very enjoyable to watch. But if he were to film the movie himself, he would definitely not be happy. How could he still be a human being? Your wife and children wish you were dead. Wan Chichi sneered. How could a man who made no contribution to the family and even dragged down his wife and children have the nerve to say that he was the pillar of the family? My wife and children will be ashamed of me making that kind of film. It doesn't matter if I'm embarrassed, but the children are still young and they can't bear it. The man pleaded. It's okay. I'll put on a mask for you. Wan Chichi put an end to all his thoughts. She had finally found an actor with a good figure and good looks, and there was no way she would let him go. But I'll let you go after you've made 20 movies. Don't worry, I'm trustworthy. Wan Chichi promised him a bitter and astringent cake, and the man was so excited that he fainted. Gon Defa had great success in recruiting students. With the reputation of Teacher Lee and the temptation of high scholarships, the parents of those students did not hesitate for too long and signed the contracts. He returned to the gang. He received a call from Xia Tao and hurried over. Meow the cow was wrapped in Xia Tao's sweater and lay quietly in her arms. After eating the ginseng slices, the kitten recovered a lot, but was still a little listless. It couldn't even lift its head and called weakly to Gon Defa. What a beautiful little kitty. What happened to it? Gon Defa reached out and gently stroked the kitten's head. Being beaten by that jerk. Xia Tao glanced coldly at the man on the ground. If it wasn't for the student scholarship, she would have cut the jerk into pieces long ago. How about feeding him to the sharks? Gon Defa asked seriously. The man on the ground shuddered and curled up into a ball, trying to reduce his presence as much as possible, fearing that these 3 evil spirits would really feed him to sharks. It's a pity to feed him to the sharks. Let him be Chun Mayer's partner, and I'll let him go after he shoots 20 movies. Wan Chichi said. 1 cat counts as 1 film, 20 cats count as 20 films. After filming 20 films, this jerk will not want to leave, because there is no place for him in Hong Kong anymore. Just like Chun Mayer, he is willing to stay and film. The money earned from the movie will be used as scholarships for students, and a portion will be used to set up an animal rescue center, said Wan Chichi. There are many stray cats and dogs in the city, as well as a lot of human scum. She wants to build a home for the cats and dogs and sterilize them all, regardless of whether they are male or female, to avoid giving birth to more stray cats and dogs. Okay, I'll do it. Gon Defa took out his notebook and wrote it down. He wrote a lot in the small notebook. Some of them were crossed out, which meant they had been completed, and some were not crossed out, which meant they had not been completed. My mom made some sweet soup. Do you want to go for a midnight snack? Gon Defa put away his notebook and asked carefully. Xia Tao's eyes lit up. The sweet soup made by Gon's mother was absolutely amazing and must be delicious, so she agreed without thinking. I'm going home to sleep, you guys go eat. Wan Chi-Chi didn't want to be a third wheel, and she wanted to go back to be with her baby. Gon Defa first sent her back to the middle of the mountain, and then, together with Xia Tao, took the scumbag man to the gang's office building, which was also the filming set, and handed him over to the subordinates in charge of the filming. Use the best trauma medicine. After you recover, partner with Chen Meyer. The two sheep have become a little fat recently, so let them exercise more. Gon Defa instructed his men that since this scumbag liked to abuse animals so much, let him also have a taste of being bullied by animals. Got it, boss. His men carefully examined the man, and the more they looked at him, the more drunk he seemed. He looked better than Chen Meyer, and would definitely make a good film. Please let me go. I won't dare to do it again. I was wrong. Please forgive me. The man pleaded desperately, but no one paid any attention to him. He was locked in a small dark room to recuperate and wait for the filming to be done after his injuries healed. They will definitely be well fed and well cared for during this period. The Rongyao gang will never mistreat their employees, especially those who perform hard. Chen Meyer and the two sheep have been raised to be plump and white, and much prettier than before. Xia Tao went to the backyard to look at the two sheep. The more she looked at them, the more greedy she became. The skin of the two sheep was shiny and glossy, and they were a lot fatter than when she first brought them in. The meat must be very tender, and would be delicious when stewed in mutton soup or put in hot pot. My mother will make mutton soup tomorrow.
Come and have some.
Gon Defa took the opportunity to extend an invitation. He would get up early the next morning, go to the vegetable market to buy the tenderest mutton, and ask his mother to stew a pot of mutton soup.
Okay.
Xia Tao agreed readily. As for mutton soup, only a fool would refuse it. The next day, Wan Chi-Chi went to Teacher Chen's house again. The man did not come home last night, so Teacher Chen, the two children, and the Filipino maid all slept very soundly. I want to tell you that after my persuasion, your husband decided to go out with his true love. He has already left Hong Kong and will not be back for an unknown date. He asked me to pass on a message to you. You don't have to miss him. Wan Chi-Chi made up a reason and spoke very seriously.
Is he
still in good health? Teacher Chen swallowed and asked cautiously. That jerk was so poor. How could any woman be willing to be with him, let alone have money to go out and have fun? She suspected that the jerk was killed by Mrs. Ruan. It's not that she felt sorry for the man, but she was afraid of causing trouble for Wan Chi-Chi. Don't worry, he's in perfect health. Ask him to call you later to let you know he's safe. Wan Chi-Chi smiled, giving her a reassurance. Teacher Chen breathed a sigh of relief. As long as he was still alive, as long as that jerk didn't come home, she and the children could live a quiet and peaceful life. The problem of teachers and students has been completely solved. Everything is ready, except for the school to start. Since Jetta School was opening for the first time, there had to be a grand opening ceremony, but Gon Defa had not yet found someone to cut the ribbon. He originally wanted to invite a high-ranking legislator to cut the ribbon, but the legislator refused, thinking that their school was too new. Please invite the governor to cut the ribbon. I'll go. Wan Chi-Chi made a boast that being a member of parliament was nothing. She would go and ask the governor of Hong Kong. Will the governor of Hong Kong agree? Gon Defa felt it was unlikely. If he refuses to come, I'll tie him up and cut the ribbon. To sneak into the governor's palace. She would use courtesy first and then force. If the opponent refused, she would just kidnap him. No way. If you kidnap the governor, we will destroy our school too. Gon Defa was so anxious that several hairs fell out. Ah Tao was just too kind. She even dared to kidnap the governor of Hong Kong for the sake of her students. He couldn't bear to see Ah Tao go astray. No need to tie him up, I'll make him come willingly. Wan Chi-Chi was confident and told the two of them not to worry about it, as the governor of Hong Kong would definitely be there on the day of the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Gon Defa had an inexplicable trust in her, so he really stopped caring about her and went to arrange other things. In the blink of an eye, it was July. The weather was extremely hot. Wan Qiqi didn't want to go out at all and stayed in the house every day to enjoy the air conditioning. But the potato babies couldn't stay still and had to go out to play every day. The white and tender little potatoes were tanned into black potatoes. One day, Wan Qiqi entered the space and wanted to pick a durian to eat. The durians she planted had borne fruit. Each one was very big and very fragrant and tasted better than the ones bought outside. She climbed up the ladder and picked a durian. When she was about to come down, she suddenly found a pile of things in front of her, including bottles and jars, and some calligraphy and paintings. Wan Qiqi was very sure that these things must have been newly put in. She went down the ladder and walked over. She saw more things closer, all kinds of porcelain and various calligraphy and paintings, both Chinese and Western. Wan Qiqi even saw some famous oil paintings such as Mrs. So-and-so's smile, so-and-so's sunflowers, and so on. Wan Qiqi took it out and looked at it carefully. It didn't look like a fake at all. Could it be that her husband went to the museum and brought back the original? These things must have been made by Lu Yi. I don't know whose museum he robbed. They are really cool. Wan Qiqi found a few sandalwood boxes and put all the things in them. Those famous Western paintings would surely fetch a lot of money when auctioned in a few decades. In the following days, there would be a bunch of cultural relics in the space, and Wan Qiqi would put them into boxes. Before she knew it, she had collected 30 large boxes, all of which were precious cultural relics. Lu Yi must have robbed more than one museum. She would ask him about it later. In late July, Lu Yi came back and ate 3 large bowls of rice as soon as he got back, almost finishing the bowls. There's nothing good to eat there, and the food in the Chinese restaurant is terrible. Qiqi, you and Zizi should not go there in the future, or you'll be hungry. Lu Yi ate while complaining aggrievedly. If it weren't for the food prepared by Qiqi in the space, he would really have starved to death in the United States. Didn't I put some food in the space? Isn't it enough? Wan Qiqi felt very distressed as well, seeing that he had lost weight. I shared it with the others. They were so hungry that their eyes were shining green. Lu Yi picked up a large piece of fried bacon with white peppers with chopsticks, stuffed it into his mouth, and chewed happily. This was what he missed the most when he was abroad, along with white rice. He wanted to eat it even in his dreams. Then why didn't you leave a note? I could have prepared more for you. It's tiring to prepare so much. I can be full by eating bread anyway. Lu Yi couldn't bear to see his wife suffer, and he wasn't picky about food as long as he could fill his stomach. To be precise, he wasn't hungry, he was just particularly greedy. Silly boy, there are so many restaurants, and I don't have to do anything. I'll prepare more for you later. Wan Qiqi glared at him. What a fool. Lu Yi finished all 4 dishes, 1 soup, and 3 large bowls of rice. He also finished the juice on the plate with the rice, leaving nothing behind. Hiccup, Lu Yi burped happily, then picked up Potato Baby and rode on the big horse. He hadn't seen his son for a month and a half and missed him so much.
Dad, go.
Potato Baby happily patted his head and gave him orders, and the father and son had a lot of fun playing in the living room. After the father and son had enough fun, Wan Qiqi asked about the 30 large boxes of cultural relics. I was bored over there, and I heard that an earl's ancestor had been to Yuanminjiwen, so I went to his castle for a walk and took away all the valuables. There were also a few nobles whose ancestors were not good people, so I just went to visit them all. Lu Yi explained the whole story with a smile. He brought a lot of goods over, and he didn't have to worry about the sales. He just wandered around when he had nothing to do. As he wandered around, he found out a lot of dirty things about the American nobles. Those well-dressed American nobles were basically bandits, and almost none of them had clean hands. In particular, the ancestors of several families had entered the old summer palace and robbed many things from China. Lu Yi went around these houses and collected all the valuable items, including several safes. Where is the safe? Wan Qiqi didn't see it. I put it on the other side, but I don't know the password. I smashed it all. There were a lot of pounds in gold, as well as famous watches and jewelry. Lu Yi excitedly pulled her into the space. The safe was placed under the grape rack. No wonder Wan Qiqi didn't see it. There were a few fat snakes lying on the shelf, too lazy to even raise their eyes, and continued to sleep. Look, all these pounds and dollars. Louis pointed at a stack of banknotes, looking very proud. Wan Chichi counted the money and found 500,000 pounds and several $100,000 US, as well as a lot of gold, jewelry, and famous watches. That's awesome, let's go together next time. Wan Chichi was generous with her praise. She felt itchy in her heart. She also wanted to go shopping for free and visit several other countries. It would be unfair to only rob the United States among the 8 countries. They must be treated equally. Hong Kong is getting hotter in August, and the opening ceremony is imminent. Wan Chichi decides to go and chat with the governor of Hong Kong. The governor of Hong Kong lives on the peak. On this side of Hong Kong, the powerful and wealthy all live on the peak, and the rich can only live in mid-levels. There is a huge class difference. Wan Chichi did not send a visiting card because it would be useless even if she did. The governor of Hong Kong would definitely not meet her, an unknown person. So, she decided to climb the wall and visit at night. Liu Ye's wife naturally followed her husband's lead. At night, on a dark and windy night, the couple sneaked under the wall of the governor's house, easily avoided the guards, climbed over the wall, and went directly into the governor's study. Being the governor of Hong Kong is not an easy job. He is still working so late. No wonder his hairline is so high. This governor of Hong Kong had the best reputation and made great contributions to the prosperity and stability of Hong Kong, so Wan Chichi had a good impression of him and did not want to make things difficult for him. Hello, waved politely. Louis jumped down right after him and waved with a smile.
Who are you?
What do you want to do? The governor of Hong Kong behaved calmly, with the demeanor of a general, but his hand quietly reached under the desk, wanting to press the bell to call the bodyguard. It's no use pressing it. I've cut the wires. Don't be afraid. We are good people. Wan Chichi kindly reminded her that she had already made all the necessary preparations. The governor pressed the button several times, but there was no response. He sat down and asked calmly, "If you are good people, why did you climb in through the window?" "Because I can't get in through the main gate. Because I can't get in through the main gate. I can only climb over the wall." "Let me introduce myself. I am the director of Guardian School, and he is my husband. I would like to invite you to cut the ribbon for the opening ceremony of our Guardian School."
How about that?
Wan Chichi handed over the business card. The governor of Hong Kong picked up the business card and looked at it. He had heard of the Guardian College. The Glory Gang had been making such big moves recently, and his subordinates had already reported it to him. But setting up a school is a good thing. I appreciate your kind act, but I really didn't have time that day. I had plans already. The governor explained sincerely that he did have a schedule already arranged. "If I find evidence of Mr. G's corruption for you, can you spare some time?" Wan Chichi asked with a smile. The governor's expression changed slightly, and he asked, "Does your Glory Gang also have financial dealings with him?" "Of course not. We in the Rongyao Gang are all doing legitimate business, and we follow the rules. As long as you take the time to cut the ribbon, I will find the evidence for you. I mean what I say." Wan Chichi assured her solemnly that she had inquired about it long ago. The governor of Hong Kong was recently very worried about a guy named Ge. This guy was the biggest parasite in Hong Kong and had embezzled hundreds of millions of stolen money. The governor of Hong Kong had always wanted to deal with him. The establishment of the Independent Commission Against Corruption was also for this guy, but unfortunately, there was no evidence. Until now, the guy named Ge was still at large. "Okay, as long as you can find evidence, I will go to cut the ribbon." The governor of Hong Kong did not hesitate for too long and agreed decisively. "Make a deal." Wan Chichi turned around and left, and she and Louis climbed out of the windowsill. The governor of Hong Kong chased after them, but could no longer see them. His idiotic guards were still patrolling foolishly. He couldn't help but have more confidence in the young couple. With such great skills, maybe I can really find the evidence. Mr. G's surname is Ge. He is a Native American. He is a senior government official sent to Hong Kong by the United States. He has embezzled a lot of money and is extremely cunning. He applied for retirement as soon as he heard the news and hid abroad. If there is no conclusive evidence, there is no way to punish him. The timeline here is not very accurate. It is written like this for the needs of the story. Wan Chichi actually knew something about Mr. Ge's situation. In his previous life, Hong Kong had filmed many TV series and movies, some of which were very famous. One was the TV series Detective XX, and the other was a prototype movie of The Big Boss Wu. Both were set in the present day and featured Mr. Ge. In her previous life, she had searched for a man named Ge on the internet. This guy was greedy and cunning. He should be hiding in Southeast Asia at this time, but in 1975, which means he will be extradited back to Hong Kong next year. He was eventually sentenced to 4 years in prison. After he was released from prison, he lived in seclusion in Spain, and there's been no news of him since then. Even if she didn't take action, Ge would be arrested next year. It is said that white people are not as cunning as Chinese. That inspector had a perfect exit and lived openly in Taiwan Island. He died of old age and was quite long-lived. His family lived a luxurious life. Hong Kong had no way to deal with him. Wan Chichi and Liu Yi went to Southeast Asia, and it didn't take long for them to find Ge, who had hundreds of millions of assets. The old man lived a very free and easy life, and he hired many expert guards. His mansion was heavily guarded, and he was accompanied by bodyguards whenever he went out, but it was not a problem for them. The moon was bright that night, which was perfect for drinking under the moon. Although Old Man Ge was an American, he had spent a long time in Hong Kong and had been influenced by the elegance of the Chinese people. He sat on the terrace drinking late at night, surrounded by bodyguards who were working overtime. Wan Chichi and Liu Yi hid in the blind spot of the guards' surveillance, yawning boredly, waiting for the old man to finish drinking and go back to sleep. When will the bright moon appear? I raise my cup to ask the sky. Old Man Ge even recited a poem, showing great interest. No need to wait. You deal with the bodyguards, I'll go deal with this old man. We can finish it quickly and go home. Wan Chichi yawned loudly. The old man didn't need sleep because he was old, and she was in her prime, and had to go to bed early and get up early. She didn't want to stay up late with the old man. The two men were about to take action. Old Man Ge stood up and staggered to the bedroom. The bodyguards all visibly breathed a sigh of relief, as they didn't want to work the night shift. Old Man Ge went to the bathroom, ready to urinate before going to bed. He was obviously in a good mood, humming a tune while peeing with a smile on his face. Liu Yi was not in a hurry to take action. He was waiting for the old man to finish peeing. Even if he was kidnapping someone, he would still be humane and would not kidnap someone when he was only half peeing. Old Man Ge finished his sighing. He shuddered a few times, turned around, and went back to his bedroom to sleep. He felt a sharp pain in the back of his neck. His vision went dark, and he fell backwards, but was steadily caught by Liu Yi. Old Man Ge woke up. He found himself still at home, but his body was so weak that he couldn't even move his fingers. In front of him sat two beautiful Chinese men and women, looking at him with smiles. "How much do you want? Name your price." Old Man Ge was very calm and discussed the terms with them. "We are not here for money. We are here to invite Mr. Ge back to Hong Kong. You ran away without even saying hello. This is very rude. Please go back and make up for this courtesy, Mr. Ge." Wan Chichi said politely. "I have retired. Hong Kong affairs have nothing to do with me anymore. According to the rules of the underworld in your country, those who have retired from the underworld are no longer members of the underworld. The right and wrong of the underworld has nothing to do with him anymore. Why won't you let me go?" Old Man Ge spoke confidently and seemed particularly innocent, even offering money to tempt them. "As long as you two pretend that you didn't see me, I am willing to give you 5 million. With 5 million, you can settle down abroad and live a good life, and you don't have to fight and kill in the underworld anymore. How do you think? $5 million or pounds?" Wan Chichi asked closely. Old Man Ge's expression froze for a few seconds before he said, "Hong Kong dollars. You embezzled so much money, but you only gave me 5 million Hong Kong dollars? Is your life only worth 5 million Hong Kong dollars? Wan Chichi screamed exaggeratedly. "Don't waste time talking to him. Just take him back to Hong Kong."
Lui ero aret fierse.
Old Man Ge wanted to persuade him again, but Liu Yi slapped him on the jaw and left him in the room while the two men went to open the safe. The old man was very careful. He placed one safe in the bedroom and the other in the study. There were about $300,000 or $400,000 in cash, as well as a lot of famous watches and jewelry. Wan Qiqi put them into the space without hesitation and regarded them as her errand fee. There were also 2 account books found in the safe. They recorded evidence of Old Man Ji's corruption and crimes over the years. Some names also appeared, all of whom were government officials in Hong Kong who had financial dealings with him. 3 days later, they brought Old Man Ge back to Hong Kong, along with the 2 account books. Under Liu Ye's unique interrogation, Old Man Ge was very talkative and confessed everything without holding back. Old Man Ge cleared up the investigation of the Independent Commission Against Corruption, and many government officials were arrested. The governor of Hong Kong was very grateful for their help and gladly agreed to cut the ribbon, saying that he would definitely attend the opening ceremony on time. Before the graduation ceremony, Gan Defa and Xia Tao are so busy that they have no time to rest. Wan Qiqi and Liu Yi have some free time. They take Zizi and Manzi out for a walk every day and listen to gossip. They are living a very comfortable life. The thing that Hong Kong citizens are most concerned about recently is the second Miss Hong Kong election competition. The competition will start in mid-September and the selection is now in full swing. In fact, the Miss Hong Kong competition has been held since 1946 and has been held every year since then, but the popularity is not high. It was not until last year when TVB took over the Miss Hong Kong pageant and launched the slogan "Wisdom and Beauty Coexist" that the Miss Hong Kong pageant gained popularity. Furthermore, last year's first election was quite interesting, with a joint champion. One of the champions, Ms. D, was young and beautiful. She became a popular star in the fields of film, television, and music. Her husband was even more famous. He was the most popular star in the Hong Kong film and television industry at that time and was known as the fourth brother. Her son is also very famous. He is handsome, has good acting skills, sings beautifully, and is a good cook. The daughter-in-law she married is not only beautiful, but also a movie queen, but they are divorced now. The other daughter-in-law who is not married was even more amazing. She was a super famous superstar. The story of this family could probably not be filmed in a TV series of 100 episodes. The 4th place in last year's session is also very famous. She has played many classic roles, such as Miss Feng in The Bund and White Snake, who had a passionate and tragic love affair with Su Xian. She can be said to be a national female star. However, this year's Miss Hong Kong does not seem to be very popular in the entertainment industry, and Wan Qiqi does not have much impression of her. Ah Xiang and Ah Hong at home both pay close attention to the Miss Hong Kong competition. They watch the auditions broadcast on TV every day and never miss a single one. Wan Qiqi would sometimes follow them to watch. Although their current clothing and makeup were quite simple, these girls were all natural beauties and were still very pleasing to the eye. Ayu, number 67 is Ayu. Isn't she an illegal resident? How could she participate in the competition? On this day, it was time to broadcast the Miss Hong Kong contest. Ah Xiang and Ah Hong finished their work early and sat in front of the TV waiting for the broadcast. In this contest, each contestant showed their talents, and each contestant had only a few seconds to perform. Ah Xiang suddenly screamed, ran to the TV, pointed at a beauty in the TV, and screamed excitedly. "Is that the you who crossed the sea with you to join the film crew?" Sister Hong asked. Yes, it was her. We escaped together and rented a small house. After a few days, Ayu couldn't stand it anymore and ran to the crew to film. She also asked me to go too, but I didn't. We didn't keep in touch afterwards. After the excitement, Ah Xiang calmed down. You must have obtained an ID card for her to be able to participate in the Miss Hong Kong competition. Only local people can participate in the Miss Hong Kong competition. Originally, she was worried that Ayu would suffer in the crew, but now it seems that she is living a good life, and Xiang is also happy for Ayu. Hey, why did she change her name? The host on TV called out the names of the contestants one by one, and when he called out a word, the camera would turn to the contestant. Número 67.
Shuhyeki.
The host called out very clearly. Ah Seong said. She was talking to us about Su Jiyu. Celebrities all have stage names. Su Jichi should be her stage name. Wan Chichi said. Yeah, it looks like she's doing pretty well. She's been given a lot of screen time. Maybe she'll win an award. Ah Seong was very smart. She noticed that the camera favored IU and gave her more shots than other beauties. It means she has the support of a big boss behind her. Ah Hong is also very smart and saw the clues at a glance. No wonder she was able to get an ID card. Ah Seong felt a little emotional, but not envious. Because she and Sister Hong also got their identity cards, which were issued by Mrs. Ruan, they can now go out on the streets openly and don't have to hide when they see the police. The sisters who had suffered with Sister Hong have also obtained their ID cards and are now female workers in garment factories. They lead busy and fulfilling lives every day. She and Sister Hong often go to the factory to visit them. Those sisters are all living well. No one discriminates against or bullies them in the factory. They can get their wages on time every month. If they save money for a few years, they can buy a house in Hong Kong. IU is just a small episode, and Seong never mentioned her again. They were just friends who met by chance. Time passed very quickly, and finally the opening ceremony day arrived. Gon Defa invited many important people, many of whom he had not dared to invite before. Because of the participation of the governor of Hong Kong, these people came uninvited and took the initiative to express their desire to attend the ceremony. As a result, this opening ceremony was the most grand one for Jeddah School, and there will never be another time when so many bigwigs will gather together. The audience was filled with students wearing school uniforms designed by Wan Chichi. Whether for men or women, they perfectly covered the good figures of young boys and girls. They were wide, fat, and large. In her previous life, Wan Chichi wore this ugly school uniform when she was in school. So, how can the students of Jeddah School wear beautiful school uniforms? No matter how ugly you design yourself, students should focus on their studies. Dressing up is something they should do after entering society. She designed were supported by almost all parents and teachers, but were of course despised by most students. However, resistance was futile, and they had to wear the uniforms to school obediently. After the governor of Hong Kong cut the ribbon, he was the first to speak. He said some words of encouragement and praise, which received thunderous applause. Then the principal Gon Defa spoke. In September, but Gon Defa was still wearing a suit and tie, with sweat all over his forehead. He had hardly slept a wink the previous night. When he thought about going on stage to speak, he was so excited that he couldn't sleep, so he quickly got up to recite his speech. Dear Governor of Hong Kong, distinguished guests, parents, and students, I am Gon Defa, the principal of Guardian School. Gon Defa spoke haltingly at first, but as time went on he became fluent and was even able to speak without a script. The brothers from the Rongyao gang and the neighbors from Lianhua Street in the audience all wore the most formal clothes in their lives and looked extremely proud, especially Gon Defa's parents, who clapped the loudest every time and their palms turned red from clapping. Everyone knows that I have another identity. I am the eldest brother of the Glory Gang. The reason why I founded the school is because more than 100 children in the gang have no school to go to because their fathers are henchmen. No school is willing to accept them. Even if there is a school that is willing to accept them, some teachers will be prejudiced. In such an environment, it is very painful for children to go to school, and they may even develop an aversion to learning. At the suggestion of the school director, Mrs. Ruan, I decided to start my own school. During the school's establishment, I received support from many people. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to them. Gon Defa bowed deeply, and there was warm applause from the audience. Finally, I promise you that at Guardian School, no matter what your parents do, no matter if you live in mid-levels or Kowloon Walled City, you only have one identity at Guardian, that is, a student. The student's task is to study hard, and if you get a good score in the exam, you can get a scholarship. If you really don't have a talent for studying, then learn to be a good person. There are 365 professions, and there are top talents in every profession. As long as you are a good person, you'll have a bright future no matter what you do. Gon Defa finished his speech in a sonorous and powerful voice, The applause from the audience became even louder, with many students clapping vigorously. Because it was the first time they heard the principal say that it didn't matter if you weren't good at studying. They kind of liked this principal, who looked like a big black bear. On the first day, the naughty students gave Defa the nickname, Black Bear Principal. The cold and icy head teacher, Xia Tao, is called the Refrigerator Director. Their combination is called Beauty and the Beast. The opening ceremony, school officially started the next day. Xia Tao was waiting at the gate early in the morning with a thick roster, checking each student one by one. Dyed hair, tattoos, earrings, makeup, cigarettes, clothing, etc. are all hard to hide under Xia Tao's sharp eyes. Many students were sent by their parents. Seeing Xia Tao making such a fuss, the parents were very curious and gathered at the gate to watch. "What's your name?" Xia Tao stopped a boy with dyed yellow hair and asked with a stern face.
Yankee.
Under her pressure, the boy answered honestly. Xia Tao quickly found his name on the roster, as well as his joint entrance examination results, which ranked among the bottom hundreds in the city. Number 88 from the bottom. What qualifications do you have to dye your hair yellow? And wear earrings? Oh, and have a tattoo? What the heck did you tattoo? A toad or a turtle? Why don't you learn from Yu Fei and tattoo, serve the country with loyalty, or work hard and make progress on your back? Do you want to be a turtle by tattooing a turtle like this? Xia Tao rolled up the boy's sleeves, saw the tattoo on his arm, and started scolding him. "Director, it's Xuanwu." The boy protested in a low voice that it was obviously the black tortoise, one of the 4 sacred beasts, not a turtle. If Xuanwu knew that he had a tattoo on him from someone like you, the 88th from the bottom, he would be so annoyed off. "Did you paint it or get it tattooed?"
Paint.
The boy's voice became smaller and smaller. He was obviously louder than Xia Tao, but under Xia Tao's majesty, he was weaker, more helpless and humble than an ant. Take him away, shave his head, wash off his tattoos, and remove his earrings. At Xia Tao's command, 2 tall and strong men came over. They were the thugs of the Glory Gang. They had seen blood on their hands, and it was easy for them to deal with the yellow-haired boy. "I'll just shave your head the first time, but if you do it again, I'll shave your head bald. Please read the 10th rule of the school carefully. The prerequisite for dyeing your hair, getting earrings, and wearing makeup is that you must have good grades. Otherwise, you can't even talk to me." Xia Tao pointed to the school rules at the gate and asked the boy to read Article 10 3 times before taking him away to tidy up his appearance. A student should behave like a student. It will not look good if he behaves carelessly. At the door was the boy's mother. Seeing her troubled son becoming more docile than a rabbit in front of Director Xia, the mother was so moved that tears welled up in her eyes. She was extremely glad that she had sent her son to China Guardian. At home, every time she says something, her rebellious son will talk back to her 10 times and always go against her. She is almost going crazy with anger. Finally, there is someone who can control her rebellious son. From now on, Director Xia will be her god. The students who had already entered felt relieved, while the students who had not yet entered the school lined up outside, all trembling with fear, especially the few students who had something to hide, secretly praying that they would not be caught by Director Xia. "What's your name?" Xia Tao stopped another female student who was putting on makeup. Not only was her hair highlighted on the forehead, but she also made the waist of her baggy school uniform smaller so that it just fit her slender waist, showing off her figure. The girl gave her name confidently. Xia Tao checked the list and found that she was in the top 100 in the joint entrance examination. "Go in, but if your grades drop, you can't wear makeup or dye your hair, and you have to change back to your school uniform." Xia Tao let her go, but reminded the girl to maintain her grades, and she would show no mercy if she fell behind. "I won't give you a chance." The girl is full of confidence. She likes to dress up beautifully to study every day. She doesn't want to dress ugly because she will lose motivation to study. Then, Xia Tao caught another girl who also put on makeup, dyed her hair, and changed her school uniform, but her grades were very poor. Why shouldn't she change? The girl was not convinced and felt that Xia Tao was biased. If you had ranked in the top 100 in the joint entrance exam, you wouldn't have to change it. but you ranked 38th from the bottom. Who are you putting on makeup for? Do you want to marry into a wealthy family and become a lady? Sorry, wealthy families don't look down on poor students like you. They only want top students. Xia Tao's words were extremely vicious, without showing any mercy to the girl at all. Can't poor students love beauty? You are not fair. The girl cried aggrievedly. She didn't want to be a bad student, but she just couldn't concentrate on her studies. Only those who are capable are qualified to ask for fairness. Wait until you become powerful before you talk to me about fairness. Now you must listen to me. Xia Tao sneered and waved her hand, and the girl was dragged away. Frightened students all behaved themselves. Without Xia Tao's instruction, they took the initiative to tidy up their appearance and handed in cigarettes. They were afraid of being caught by Xia Tao and punished even more severely. Had been tidied up were all brought to Xia Tao. The boys and girls, who originally looked a little decadent, became much more energetic after being tidied up. The parents gathered at the door became more and more satisfied the more they looked. They just wanted a school with strict discipline that could control their rebellious sons and daughters. They didn't expect their children to get good grades. They just hoped that they would not be infected by bad habits. They feel relieved that Jiada School can keep their children under control. Perhaps because the parents had spread the word, many children still transferred to Jiada after the school started. They were all extremely rebellious teenagers, and their parents really couldn't control them. When they heard that Jiada could control the troublesome students, they sent their children here with a glimmer of hope. The families of these troublesome students were all well off and could afford the high tuition fees. After consulting Xia Tao, Gondefa accepted these troublesome students. It's been less than a week since we moved here, and these troublemakers have started causing trouble. He bullied students, played pranks on teachers, and smoked on campus, making the place a smoky mess. A young female teacher was so scared by a prop snake in the drawer that she fainted on the podium. A male teacher was poured with a bucket of cold water as soon as he walked into the classroom. Several good students who received scholarships were threatened by these troublemakers to help them with their homework. Xia Tao quickly found out the students who were causing trouble. Although they were not very old, they had already transferred to several schools and were all persuaded to drop out by the schools. No matter how much money their parents offered, the schools refused to accept them. It is because these students often play tricks on teachers and bully other students that no one in the school can control them, and they can only persuade them to drop out. That morning, Xia Tao walked into the classroom and took out these troublesome students one by one. "Dean, we need to go to class." A few of those troublemakers and slackers didn't take Xia Tao seriously at all. "She is quite pretty. You might as well be their girlfriend." "Shut up." Xia Tao was too lazy to talk nonsense with them, so she slapped each of them in the face, making their heads buzz. The force was just right, enough to make them dazed but not to hurt their brains. While these guys were dizzy, she used a hemp rope to string them together and led them to her office like sheep. On the way, she met Wan Chi-Chi and her family of 3. Baby Potato rode on Luya's shoulders, looking around curiously, very happy. Manzai has been addicted to playing video games recently, and he took Tudazizi and Mama Zheng to play a few times. As a result, Tudazizi and Mama Zheng also became addicted. The 1-year-old boy, a dog, plays better than many children. After Wan Chi-Chi found out, she gave Manzai a few days off so that he and his mother could concentrate on playing games. The little boy is still young, so he should not get addicted to the games. The first arcade machine was born in 1971. What happened to them? Wan Chi-Chi looked at the students who were strung together to look like the Calabash brothers and asked with a smile, "If you don't follow the school rules, go to his office and have a good talk with him." Xia Tao spoke coldly about the evil things these troublemakers had done. This guy was just beaten too little. He would be obedient if he was beaten more often.
Luya sneered.
He used to lead a company of new recruits. In every company of new recruits, there were always a few troublemakers who refused to obey discipline. To deal with such troublemakers, there was no need to waste time talking. Just beat them up directly. If one time was not enough, beat them twice until they were convinced.
Beat him.
Slapped his father on the head and said something loudly. Xia Tao thought the same thing, So she wanted to take them back to the office and beat them up, but Wan Chichi said, "It's a waste of energy to beat them up. I have a good idea." A few troublemakers didn't know why. Even though the school director, Mrs. Ruan, was prettier than Miss Hong Kong and spoke very gently, they just felt cold all over and felt eerie even under the scorching sun. Wan Chichi asked them to go to the office first. She went out for a while, and when she came back, she had a bag in her hand. There was something squirming inside. They were the snakes in the space that were too lazy to grow hair. Several troublemakers stood in a row obediently, with hemp ropes tied around their bodies. Xia Tao's office was very big, like a boxing ring, especially suitable for beating people. Wan Chichi walked up to them and said with a smile, "You like snakes very much, right? The prop snake is fake and not interesting. Real snakes are fun." After saying that, she took out a snake from the bag, which was as thick as a baby's arm, and twisted itself into a pretzel in the air. The thorns felt their scalps go numb immediately, and they subconsciously wanted to scream, but their jaws hurt, and Xia Tao stopped them. "Look, this is a real leather collar. Even the richest man doesn't have this treatment. Enjoy it." Wan Chichi put a snake collar on each troublemaker, and the big snakes wrapped around their necks obediently, being very obedient. The few thorny ones only felt the coldness on their necks, and could clearly feel the fine scales and a faint fishy smell. They dared not move, for fear that they would be kissed by the snake if they moved. "Director Xia, we know we were wrong, and we will definitely correct it in the future." Only a few minutes, 3 of the 4 troublemakers couldn't bear it anymore and cried for mercy. The only one left, although he clenched his fists in fear, still held his head high and showed a look of unwillingness to surrender. The 3rd update is completed, and it will be perfectly finished in 2024. I wish everyone and myself all the best in 2025, peace and health and prosperity and beauty. Do you know you are wrong, or are you afraid? Xia Tao was not soft-hearted. She had seen too many men who cried. The more vicious they were when doing evil, the more they cried. They didn't realize their mistakes at all. They were just scared. 3 boys, about 16 or 17 years old, opened their mouths and cried like flowers. The fat snakes wrapped around their necks lay motionless, as if they were dead. The other stubborn one was still holding on, and even though he was scared to death, he still held on and did not beg for mercy. He is a man. He will not shed tears even if he bleeds, and he will not beg for mercy even if his head is cut off. He doesn't want to be a coward. The snake uncle on one of the boy's neck finally moved, because the boy's hot tears dripped onto the snake uncle's body. The snake uncle felt very uncomfortable, so he raised his head high to the level of the boy's eyes and looked at him with his cold snake pupils. The boy was so frightened that he dared not breathe, and his body could not help shaking. Only a few seconds had passed, but he felt like several centuries had passed. "I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I will never bully my classmates and teachers again. Director Xia, please take it away. I beg you, Wu-Wu." The boy's fragile nerves finally broke, but he didn't dare cry loudly for fear of irritating the snake and getting bitten. "Shut up, or I'll hang a cobra on you if you keep crying." Xia Tao was so annoyed after hearing this that she scolded the boy coldly. The boy shut up obediently, but he still couldn't stop sobbing, and he looked so pitiful. But no one sympathized with them, and these guys showed no mercy when bullying other students. Xia Tao took away the snakes on them, and the cold aura on her body disappeared. The 4 boys breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that it was all over. They couldn't help but feel secretly happy that Director Xia was just like that. They thought he had some big tricks up his sleeve. Seeing their thoughts, Xia Tao sneered, dragged the hard-headed boy to the bathroom, and said to the other 3 boys, "Throw water on him." The 4 boys were a little confused and didn't react. Xia Tao filled a basin with cold water and poured it over the stubborn boy. In an instant, the boy was wet all over. He wiped the water off his face. His eyes became fierce, and he clenched his fists, ready to fight Xia Tao. "Wanna hit me? Humph. Even if you practice for another 20 years, I can kill you with one hand." Xia Tao snorted disdainfully. She didn't even use her hands. She just poked him with a finger, and the boy's whole body became numb, and he couldn't move at all. Don't want to splash? Then I'll splash you. Xia Tao picked up a basin full of water and pretended to pour water. The three boys were frightened, and without saying a word, they poured water on their former good brothers without any hesitation, fearing that they would be splashed if they were a second slower.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Basin after basin of water was poured onto the boy who would rather die than surrender. The rain was even heavier than the one that hit Yiping and Shuheng for the first time. The boy couldn't even open his eyes, and his body was in great pain from the strong impact. After pouring more than a dozen pots of water, the stubborn boy also became angry and shouted at his three former good brothers. That's enough. Are you still good brothers? You just poured water when she asked you to? Are you dogs?
Can you have some backbone?
If I don't splash you, will I let her splash me? I can't beat her, so what can I do? If you have the guts, you can beat her. I'm tired from splashing water. Okay? Just shut up. If you annoy off the tigress and she takes out the snake, we'll all be dead. The three friends were also very angry. It was tiring for them to throw water on them. They might as well stand and get splashed. For friends who were once as close as brothers finally fell out after quarreling and throwing water at each other. They cursed at each other and threw basin after basin of water at each other. Was splashed with water, finally lowered his proud head and back. He became weak, pitiful and helpless, and tears flowed down.
Stop.
Xia Tao called a halt, and the four of them were overjoyed, thinking it was finally over. Are you angry? The teacher will give you a chance. Go and beat them up. Xia Tao walked up to the boy who was splashed like a pear blossom in the rain, pointed at the other three boys, and spoke in a particularly seductive tone. The boy, who was filled with anger, looked at her suspiciously, not knowing whether it was a trap or not, and he did not move. Not going? Then I'll beat you up. Xia Tao raised her hand, and the boy rushed over without hesitation, roaring and swinging his fist. You really want to fight me? Are you still brothers? You two were really violent just now. We are no longer brothers. Duck, who hit me just now. You have no eyes. Duck your mother, who kicked my ace. A few minutes later, the scene suddenly became chaotic. The four people fought with each other without distinguishing between friend and foe, and the scene was chaotic for a while. Wan Qiqi took out a handful of melon seeds and ate them while watching the show with Xia Tao. Potato Baby rode on his father's shoulders and was very excited. When he saw something exciting, he would pat Lu Yi on the head. 10 minutes later, the melee finally stopped. The four boys lay on the ground, breathing heavily, their clothes torn and their faces bruised. Although it was painful, the anger in their hearts miraculously dissipated. Xia Tao walked up to them and kicked them a few times with the tip of her cold leather boots. The four men were like dead bodies, not moving at all. Do you know the poison cave? Xia Tao asked coldly. The four boys' hearts skipped a beat. They knew it so darn well. They had all read Jin Yong's martial arts novels. The Five Poison Sect had a 10,000 poison cave, which was filled with tens of thousands of extremely poisonous snakes. People who made mistakes would be thrown into the cave for punishment. He Tieshou's aunt was originally as beautiful as a flower, but after coming out of the cave, her face became uglier than a ghost. People would cry if they saw her in broad daylight. It seems that you know that if you bully others again next time, I will throw you into the poison cave to experience the feeling of being eaten by thousands of poisonous snakes. Or, do you want to experience it now? Xia Tao bent down and gave them a weird smile. Recently, Gon Defa recommended several martial arts novels to her. She is currently reading Jin Yong's The Sword Stained with Royal Blood, which she is about to finish. She particularly likes He Ties Ho in the novel, and even has the idea of chopping off her palm and getting an iron hand. But the big fool said, He Ties Ho has the secret book of iron hand training, which can make him a peerless martial artist. If you don't have the secret book, then you will be in vain, right? Xia Tao suddenly woke up as if from a dream and immediately gave up the idea. Even though the iron hand was not practiced, the knowledge learned could still scare the brats. Xia Tao spoke very seriously, and coupled with her cold and ghostly aura, as well as the four snake uncles from before, The four boys all believed it and were so scared that they turned pale and trembled.
No.
No, Director Xia, we won't dare bully others anymore. Even Hardbones begged for mercy, and he was almost scared to death by a snake. If they were really thrown into the poison cave, they would definitely die without a complete body, or even no bones would be left. I'll spare you for the first time, but you can escape the death penalty, but you can't escape the punishment of life imprisonment. You must clean the toilet for a month. I will check it every day. If you can't do it, you will be fined for another month. Xia Tao finally let them go and announced the punishment. The four troublemakers dared not disobey. They were really scared by the 10,000 poison cave. Of Jetta School still remember this day vividly, because they saw with their own eyes that four fearless troublemakers came out of Director Xia's office in a disheveled and dejected look. Since then, the four bullies never dared to bully others again, and they worked hard every day to sweep the toilet, sweeping it cleaner than the cleaners. Without the four bullies causing trouble, the school atmosphere immediately became good, which made the parents even more grateful for their original choice. Miss Hong Kong selection is in full swing. After numerous rounds of elimination, only 10 beauties are left. Su Jiechi is among them. She is currently ranked 4th and has a high chance of winning the award. Xiong follows the Miss Hong Kong competition every day. The final will be in October. In fact, even if Su Jiechi didn't win the prize, she would still be considered a success. The top 10 beauties will sign contracts with TV stations and get opportunities to act on TV and shoot commercials. There was a saying in Hong Kong back then, the most popular person is Anita Mui. Maggie Cheung was a popular female star in the 1980s and 1990s. She was a Miss Hong Kong, but she only came in 4th and did not make it into the top 3. The top 3 in her session were not very famous. So Su Jiechi is actually already halfway to success. She has a good image, strong adaptability, and the support of bigwigs, so her future as a star should not be too bad. I heard that the boss behind Su Jiechi is also named Ruan, the same as yours, and he's a playboy from Southeast Asia who spent a lot of money on her. That day, Ruan Chichi and his friends had dinner at home. Xiong cooked many of their favorite dishes and also mentioned Su Jiechi. How do you know that? Ruan Chichi was intrigued. Could the playboy named Ruan from Nanyang be from the Ruan family? It's written in the gossip magazines. They also said that this Mr. Ruan is related to you, sister. What nonsense! Xiong also went to find the magazine and turned to the report to show her. Ruan Chichi took a rough look and found that Hong Kong used traditional Chinese characters and there were many local words, which seemed a bit difficult to understand. The report did say that Mr. Ruan was her relative, so the report speculated that she was the big boss behind Su Jiechi. A paparazzi asked Su Jiechi in person, and her answer was ambiguous, neither admitting nor denying. Therefore, the paparazzi, who were used to making up stories, exaggerated the story and said Su Jiechi was the sister-in-law of the fortune-teller Mrs. Ruan's brother who is not yet married, and that Su Jiechi had already met the head of the Ruan family and the wedding was imminent. Let them write it, just for fun. Ruan Chichi smiled and didn't take it to heart. No wonder the paparazzi were so suspicious. When she first came to Hong Kong, she used the name of the Nanyang Ruan family. She didn't know if the Mr. Ruan behind Su Jiechi really existed.
No.
Xiong agreed obediently and never mentioned the matter again. But at night when she went to bed, she and Sister Hong sighed. I never thought Su Jiechi would become like this. She was not like this when she first came to Hong Kong. She would rather die than give in. She hated lying the most. Now she lies without hesitation. She is completely different from before. The film and television industry is so complicated that naive people will be bullied to death. Sister Hong understands that in such a mixed environment, being naive will only get you killed. I heard people say that the salary at a TV station isn't high and it's hard to get ahead. Why did she insist on going that route? She's such a good student and so smart. She could have been successful in other ways. Xiong sighed, not understanding Su Jiechi's choice. It's a long and difficult journey to succeed in other ways. Although being a star is also difficult once you succeed, it's the fastest shortcut. Sister Hong's tone is more mature than her age. She is very satisfied with her current life. In her free time, she reads books and grows flowers. Only when she sees books and beautiful flowers can she find peace in her heart. She has also learned a lot of life lessons from books, and she looks at problems much more maturely than before. Sisters were discussing, accompanied Master Wan on a sea trip. Actually, she didn't want to go, but it was Master Wan's birthday, and as his girlfriend, she had to show up, otherwise she would offend Master Wan. How could she win the award? Mr. Wan was the biggest sponsor of the Miss Hong Kong pageant, and he only put forward one condition, which was to let her be the champion, and the TV station agreed. Su Jiechi was determined to win the Miss Hong Kong title, so during this period of time, she was even more flattering to Mr. Wan and did not dare to resist at all. Besides, Mr. Wan was only in his early 20s and looked pretty good, 100 times better than those fat old men. Su Jiechi was extremely lucky to have met Mr. Wan, but unfortunately Mr. Wan had clearly told her that he would never marry her. Luxury cruise ship in the high seas. The protagonist is Mr. Wan, the birthday boy, and many wealthy young men from Hong Kong have been invited to attend. These wealthy young men all brought their female companions. In addition to Su Jiechi, there were 2 other Miss Hong Kong contestants, and all of them were in the top 10. Halfway through the party, the male guests went outside to fish while a few female companions drank and chatted nearby. Gigi, I heard that you and Master Wan are getting married soon and you've even met Madame Wan. Is that true? Someone deliberately asked loudly. Gigi is Su Jiechi's English name. The atmosphere suddenly became quiet. Su Jiechi forced a smile and said vaguely, I can't make the decision on this matter. I have to listen to Zhen's arrangements. Mr. Wan's name is Zhen. In order to show her closeness with Mr. Wan, Su Jiechi would call him Zhen in front of outsiders and paparazzi. You better hurry up. May has had dinner with your Master Wan several times. I also met her in the restaurant. May once told the paparazzi that she and Mr. Wan had dated abroad. Gigi, don't let her steal your girlfriend away from you. The female companion started to talk a lot and fan the flames. The May they were talking about was also this year's Miss Hong Kong contestant and had a very high popularity. Because May is a graduate of a prestigious foreign university, has sufficient academic qualifications, is outgoing, lively, and graceful, which completely fits the slogan of the Miss Hong Kong competition, wisdom and beauty coexisting. Moreover, May herself has outstanding abilities and is not afraid to answer questions. Her performance is better than Su Jiechi's. Su Jiechi's smile was about to fade away. She pretended not to care and said, It just shows that Zhen is excellent. Anyway, we have a good relationship. She didn't want to talk to these people anymore, so she went out to find Master Wan, and the other female companions also went out to find their respective sponsors. The sky gradually darkened, and Master Wan and his companions prepared to return home. Su Jiechi was particularly looking forward to it because Master Wan promised her that he would take her back to their Wan family's mansion to spend the night. She used to stay overnight at her apartment. Even though the apartment also belonged to Mr. Wan, Su Jiechi still felt uneasy. This time, being able to return to their Wan mansion, her hope was rekindled. Maybe Mr. Wan would change his mind in the future and marry her? Why did the boat stop? The cruise ship suddenly stopped, and then started again, heading towards a large ship that suddenly appeared. After approaching the large ship, the people on the cruise ship jumped onto the ship obediently, like puppets. Soon, the cruise ship was empty, the big ship had sailed away, and only the cruise ship was left drifting on the sea like a ghost ship. The next day, newspapers and magazines in Hong Kong all reported the explosive news that 3 of the top 10 contestants in the Miss Hong Kong competition suddenly disappeared. All the contestants were gone, and the competition had to be postponed. The TV station was in chaos. The police station sent police to investigate, but no one was found alive or dead. It was as if Su Jiechi and the other 3 had disappeared from the face of the earth, leaving no trace at all. The disappearance of those wealthy young men and Master Juan was not reported at the same time. Several wealthy families gathered together to discuss countermeasures. They thought they were kidnapped by criminals and were afraid that leaking the news would anger the criminals and kill them. Therefore, the wealthy family only let the media report the news of the disappearance of the 3 Hong Kong beauties for 2 purposes. The first is to show sincerity to the criminals. The second is to use the fame of Miss Hong Kong to divert people's attention from this matter and ensure the safety of their son. Ruan Chichi learned about this from Ah Xiang. I went to buy vegetables today, and the people at the market said that it was probably eaten by a vampire. Ah Xiang told the gossip she had heard, speaking in a very serious manner. There are no vampires in the world. Those people are just talking nonsense. Sister Hong said angrily. Really? The pork seller at the vegetable market, his sister and brother-in-law do business in Nanyang. They all came back recently and said there's been a vampire going on there lately. Many people have disappeared inexplicably. Some bodies were found without any blood on them, and some bodies were nowhere to be found. The police have no way to deal with these vampires. The people are all in a panic and don't dare to go out after dark. Are there real vampires? Sister Hong was also shaken by what he said. It's absolutely true. The pork boss's sister and her family gave up their business over there and moved back home because they were afraid of being eaten by vampires.
Xiang nodded vigorously.
She believed it anyway. Then don't go to night school. Take a rest for a while and wait until Su Jiechi and the others find you before going. Sister Hong couldn't help but worry, afraid that something might happen to Ah Xiang. I'm not afraid. If it dares to eat me, I'll sprinkle sticky rice on it first, and then nail it to death with a peachwood nail. Ah Xiang has recently become obsessed with Tianchi movies and is not afraid of vampires at all. Vampires are not zombies. Maybe they are not afraid of sticky rice and mahogany nails. So, I will accompany you to school in the future. Sister Hong was still worried, so she decided to accompany her to night school, thinking that 2 people are always better than 1. Okay, why don't you go to night school with me? Ah Xiang was very happy. She wished Sister Hong could go out more often so that she wouldn't be stuck at home all day, which would cause problems. It's really good to go to night school. Once you learn the skills, they will be your own. No matter what difficulties you encounter in the future, you won't be afraid. Wan Chi-Chi also supported it. Sister Hong hesitated, but finally she agreed to give it a try. If she could persist, she would continue, and if not, she would stop. Wan Chi-Chi read the reports on the disappearance of the 3 Hong Kong beauties. There were not many details mentioned, only that they suddenly disappeared while attending a party. What about the rest of the party? Are they okay? Wan Chi-Chi saw the loophole at once. There must be more than 3 Hong Kong beauties at the party. Maybe that Mr. Wan was also there, but the report did not mention Mr. Wan at all. Although she was confused, she didn't pay much attention to it. The school was already on the right track, and the foreign exchange was almost in place. She planned to return to Tanzhou at the end of October. As for Xia Tao, she is very happy being the principal here and will go back after the holidays. With 5 million in foreign exchange, Pei Yuan would definitely be easy to talk to. Even if Xia Tao didn't come back for a year, he wouldn't say anything. Su Jiechi and the others disappeared. Someone came to their door. It was a middle-aged couple brought by Mrs. May. They looked very haggard, especially the woman, whose eyes were swollen like peaches, and she had completely lost the demeanor of a wealthy lady. Mrs. Wan, sorry to bother you. Mrs. May felt a little embarrassed. Logically, she should have called in advance, but the matter was really urgent. It's okay.
Who are these 2?
Ruan Chi-Chi had a good impression of Mrs. May. She was very sensible and treated her daughter-in-law from a poor family very well. She even sent her to study abroad. Mr. Su and Mrs. Su. They want to ask Mrs. Ruan for help in predicting their son's fortune.
Mrs. May said.
Wan Chi-Chi's heart skipped a beat. It was such a sudden attack, and she was not prepared at all. What should she do? But she looked calm and composed, smiling and saying, "Please sit down, Xiang will make some tea." She winked at Lu Yi, who understood, and immediately went out to find out the news. Wan Chi-Chi chatted with the Su couple and learned that Mr. Sue's accident happened 3 days ago, and the 3 Hong Kong sisters Su Jiechi also disappeared on the same day. What is your son's date of birth? Wan Qiqi had a rough idea in her mind and thought that it was most likely something that happened with Su Jiechi. The Su couple reported their son's birth date and horoscope, and Wan Qiqi pretended to calculate it. Lui hadn't come back yet, so she had to pretend to be mysterious, frowned slightly, and sighed. Mrs. Wan, is my son not well? Mrs. Su asked anxiously, tears streaming down her face again. Her tears had almost dried up during these 3 days. She waited for 3 days, but there was no call from the criminals. She had nightmares for 3 days in a row. She dreamed that her son was torn to pieces by the criminals, his body covered in blood, and asked her to save him. Mrs. Su was really desperate and thought of Wan Qiqi, but Mrs. Wan, the fortune teller, was out of business. So she had to ask her mahjong partner, Mrs. May, to help her and go to her house for help. I don't know whether it's good or bad, but Master Ling is trapped, and the fog is blocking my view. I can't see his situation clearly. So, can you take me to the place where Master Ling was last seen? Wan Qiqi said some ambiguous words, and the Su couple were not so worried anymore. They thought that being trapped meant that one was still alive, and as long as one was alive, there was hope. Couple agreed to take her on a cruise, which was found but empty. He was going out. Lui came back. He walked side by side with Wan Qiqi, and Wan Qiqi intentionally lagged behind for a distance. He told her the information he had obtained. 3 days ago, Mr. Su brought his female companion to Wan Zhen's birthday party. His female companion was one of the 3 missing Hong Kong beauties. The birthday party was held on a cruise ship. The cruise ship was found by the police, but everyone on it was missing. There were no signs of fighting on the cruise ship. It seemed that the group left voluntarily. Why didn't you call home to let them know you were safe after leaving voluntarily? Wan Qiqi frowned. This case was very strange. She suddenly had a hunch that the disappearance of Su Jiechi and the others might be related to the Nanyang vampire incident that Xiang mentioned. The cruise ship has been driven back by the police, and nothing inside has been moved, preserving the crime scene. After the Su couple greeted the police, Wan Qiqi and Lui boarded the luxury cruise ship. There was unfinished red wine and champagne on the table, as well as a lot of food and caught fish. It was obvious that when the accident happened, these people were drinking and eating. Fortunately, there were bonsai trees on the cruise ship, and Wan Qiqi chatted with them for a while. They jumped on the big boat and left. Bonsai is not very old and can only say the sentence from beginning to end, so he can't get much information. But one thing is certain. Master Wan and his companions did leave voluntarily and boarded a large ship. Lui chatted with Dahai for a while, but didn't get much information. He only knew that the big ship had also returned to Hong Kong. Mr. Su, Mrs. Su, your son is in Hong Kong with a group of people. The situation is unclear at the moment. I won't know until 3 days later. Wan Qiqi said frankly that it would take her 3 days to find this mysterious ship. The Su couple were very satisfied with the result. At least they knew their son was in Hong Kong and should still be alive. They would know his whereabouts in 3 days. Wan Qiqi and Lui had just returned home when Xiang ran out and said, "There's a Mr. Wan waiting for you. He's said to be your relative." The 3rd update is completed. I wish you all a happy new year, good luck, and good health in 2025. How old are you? Wan Qiqi asked. She roughly guessed the origin of this Mr. Wan. If nothing unexpected happened, he should be a relative of the missing Mr. Wan. He's in his 30s, looks expensive, but speaks in a very easygoing manner. Xiang reported in a low voice that she learned the adjective, quite expensive, from Wan Qiqi. A few days ago, we were watching TV together, and a very imposing male actor appeared on TV. Although he didn't look particularly good, he had a strong aura. Wan Qiqi said that the actor looked very expensive, and Xiang, who loves to study, wrote down this word. Wan Qiqi guessed that the man was in his 30s and was most likely Mr. Ruan's brother, who was sitting in the living room, stood straight with his eyes straight ahead. Although he was not dressed extravagantly and his appearance was not particularly handsome, he gave people the demeanor of a nobleman. Seeing Wan Qiqi and the others coming in, Wanjung hurriedly stood up and said with a smile, "I'm sorry, I'm Wanjung. I came here without any other choice." "What is your relationship with Wanjun?" Wan Chichi didn't waste any words and asked directly. "Wanjun is my cousin." Mrs. Wan must have known that Ajun has been missing for 3 days. There are a total of 18 people missing with him, 3 of whom are Miss Hong Kong contestants. Wanjung answered very directly, without hiding anything. As soon as he learned that his cousin was missing, he mobilized all of the Wan family's connections and manpower in Hong Kong and almost turned Hong Kong upside down, but found nothing. The police station said that his cousin was most likely not in Hong Kong. The police suspected that it was done by the Wan family's enemies and advised him to wait for a call from the robbers. However, 3 days passed and he didn't receive a single call. Wanjun couldn't wait any longer. Ajun is not very ambitious. He is his uncle's only son and also his cousin. If an accident happens to him, his uncle and aunt may not be able to bear it. Moreover, as a cousin, he will be punished by the family if he fails to take good care of Ajun. Wanjung felt like he was living in a year during these 3 days, and he hardly slept. His assistant advised him to find a fortune teller and mentioned Mrs. Wan, the fortune teller. Only then did he remember that Mrs. Wan had a close relationship with his family. She used to use his family's name and was very popular among Hong Kong ladies. However, this Mrs. Wan was not offensive. Apart from borrowing his family's name, she did not do anything excessive, so Wanjung did not care. Wanjung, a staunch materialist, was really desperate, so he came to Wan Chichi for help with the idea of trying everything possible. Wan Chichi said bluntly, "I just went to your cousin's cruise ship and got a message that Wanjun and his friends voluntarily boarded a large ship and have now returned to Hong Kong. I haven't found the specific address yet. How is Ajun now?" Wanjung asked anxiously. "It's not clear at the moment, but I should be able to get a reply in 3 days." Wan Chichi told the truth. Wanjung's expression darkened, but he still saw hope. Mrs. Wan was much more powerful than the Hong Kong police station. She gave an exact time of 3 days. The police station here would only shirk responsibility. "Mrs. Wan, please make sure to find my brother. No matter whether he is dead or alive, the Wan family will reward him handsomely." Wanjung promised. "If he's alive, I want to see him in person. If he's dead, I want to see his body. No need to thank me too much. I have borrowed your family's name before, so this is just a way of repaying the favor." Wan Chichi smiled. This was what she owed to the Wan family, and she had to pay it back. Wanjung also smiled and didn't mention it again, but he was planning in his heart to interact more with Wan Chichi in the future. This Mrs. Wan had a mysterious origin and a strong background. He guessed that she might be related to the inland area. It would be okay to recognize such a relative. It might be convenient for the Liu family to invest in the inland area in the future. "Mrs. Wan, I have a guess. I wonder if it has anything to do with Ajun's disappearance." Wanjung hesitated for a long time, but finally said it out. "Tell me about it. Hear us what happened. You may have heard about the vampire case in Nanyang. It was a big deal last year, and people were in a state of panic. The police still haven't caught the mysterious murderer." Wanjung took out an envelope from his briefcase. There were more than a dozen photos in it. He handed them over and said, "These are photos of the deceased. They are a bit scary." Wan Chichi took it. The first photo showed a man who had been sucked dry. He looked like a skeleton wrapped in human skin. His eyes were sunken like 2 black holes, but there was a peaceful smile on the corners of his mouth. The other photos are similar. The dead have all turned into mummies with smiles on their lips, as if they have seen angels. There is no fear or panic on their faces, as if they are heading to heaven. "Were they all killed by vampires?" Wan Chichi asked. "Yes, when the forensic doctor performed the autopsy, he found that the blood in the bodies of the deceased had been almost sucked dry, and there were bite wounds on the necks, which was especially like the legendary vampires. However, 1/3 of the victims were killed during the day, so the local police believed that the murderer was a super pervert who fed on human blood." Wanjung talked about the Nanyang police's inference and said, "Ajun was almost killed. Last year, he and his friends played in a dance hall until midnight. On the way home, he met the murderer. His friend died. Jean ran fast and survived, but he was left with a psychological trauma, so he ran to Hong Kong to live. Unexpectedly, he was in trouble again. Wan Chichi finished looking at all the photos and asked, "Do you suspect your brother has met that perverted murderer again?"
I am guessing.
Does Mrs. Wan believe in your sixth sense? When I knew about Jean's accident, my sixth sense told me that Jean's disappearance was closely related to that perverted murderer. My sixth sense is very sharp and has never been wrong. Rwanjung was just guessing at first, but when he heard Wan Chichi say that 18 people voluntarily boarded the ship, he was 70% to 80% sure. No one could do it except that perverted murderer. I believe in myself. Give me 3 days. I will tell you whatever the result is. After saying that, Wan Chichi stood up and went out to find someone. Thank you, Mrs. Wan and Mr. Liu. This is my phone number. You can call me anytime. Wanjung handed over his business card. He had already turned down several important trips and would never leave Hong Kong until he found his cousin. Seeing Wanjung off, Wan Chichi called Xia Tao and Gondefa and asked them to go look for someone as well. Vampires?
Impossible.
They can't possibly go to the South Seas. They don't like the weather here. Xia Tao ruled out vampires immediately. It definitely couldn't be these lazy guys. How do you know they don't like the weather in Nanyang? Have you talked to them? Wan Chichi asked curiously. We fought once, and they are not as powerful as the legend says. They are quite unlucky. They cannot go out during the day and can only go out to find food at night. They dare not eat human blood for fear of being hunted down. They only dare to eat the blood of mice and rabbits. When they are really greedy, they go to the hospital to steal blood bags to eat. Xia Tao curled her lips, her tone full of disdain, saying that those who are cowardly will become extinct sooner or later. Are they good-looking? Gondefa's focus was even stranger, because in the novels he read, vampires, both male and female, were all very handsome and extremely rich. It's so ugly. How can someone sleeping in a coffin look good? Xia Tao looked disgusted. Then I won't like them anymore. Gondefa immediately stopped being a fan. He used to love watching romance movies about vampires and humans, the kind of love that was madly in love, the promises of eternal love, the earth-shattering drama that moved him deeply. But that was on the premise that the actors who played the vampires were all very good-looking, with handsome men and pretty women. Now that he had put himself in the shoes of an ugly monster, he immediately became desensitized. What's there to like about vampires? I like Xia Shui, but it's a pity that he was born at the wrong time. You were born before I was. We are not from the same era. Seeing that the blood-stained sword was almost going crazy, Xia Tao first wanted to cut off her palm to imitate He Tai's-ho, but now she has fallen in love with the Golden Snake Man and wants to get a Golden Snake sword to practice. You and he are not only from the same era, but also from the same world. Xia Shui is a fictional character in the book and does not exist in reality. Gandefa kindly reminded. He now regretted introducing Tao to read martial arts novels. He had just persuaded the girl and saved his hand, but now he wanted to make a golden snake sword. He looked everywhere for sword-making masters, determined to make a golden snake sword exactly like the one in the book. Shoot. When I have the golden snake sword, I will be the golden snake prince in reality. I will add some poison powder, and when He Tai's-ho and the golden snake sword join forces, who else in the world can be more powerful than me? Xia Tao raised her head with a proud expression. Seeing that Gondefa wanted to laugh but didn't dare to, she snorted coldly, took out a few paper packages from her pocket, opened one of them, and smiled at him. A white mist sprinkled on Gondefa's face, and he inhaled most of it. After a while, he became dazed and fell forward like a bear. He was supported by Lu Yi. Xia Tao calmly went to get some cold water and splashed it on Gondefa's face, and he immediately woke up. This one will only make you faint. This one will give you boils. This one will make you itch all over. This one will give you a rash. Xia Tao introduced her powders one by one. None of them would be fatal, but they were quite torturous, and there was no antidote for them. Gondefa swallowed hard and whispered, "Do not use it on students." Used as an experiment by Xia Tao. Am I that kind of person? Xia Tao glared fiercely. She was the considerate, gentle, and caring director Xia. How could she possibly use her students to test drugs? At most, we would just give a few troublesome students some itching medicine and give them a small punishment as a warning. Of course you're not. You are kind, gentle, considerate, and understanding. All students like you very much. Gandefa's sweet words were free of charge and soon coaxed Xia Tao into submission. Ruan Chi and Lu Yi next to them rubbed their arms vigorously, feeling a little like vomiting. They split into two groups. Xia Tao and Gandefa went in one group, and their family of 3 went in another group. Manzai and Mama Jiang had been busy taking care of the children recently, so they gave them a day off to play games. Who were being sought by the whole of Hong Kong, were now locked up in a villa by the sea. Apart from giving them clean water and food, no one spoke to them. But every other day, someone would be pulled out and never come back. So far, 3 people have been taken away. If nothing unexpected happens, another person will be taken away tonight. 9 out of 10 people taken away tonight are women. The one who spoke was Mr. Su. Although he was also a playboy, he was the most educated and the smartest among the group. On the first day, it was a man who was taken away, on the second day, it was a woman, and on the third day, it was still a man. According to this pattern, tonight it should be a woman. Ruan Zhen and the other young masters all breathed a sigh of relief, knowing they could live another day. Su Jiqi and the other women all became nervous. The woman who was taken away the day before yesterday was the 7th runner-up in the Miss Hong Kong competition. She hasn't come back yet, so she must have met with an accident. I don't want to die, woo-woo. I haven't won the championship yet. Another Hong Kong sister started crying out of fear. As soon as she started crying, several other women followed suit and the room was suddenly filled with crying sounds. Stop crying or we'll all die. Master Su roared angrily. If it were in the past, these women would definitely shut up, but now it was already this time, and no one listened to him. Instead, they cried even louder. Don't cry, I think I know who arrested us. It must be that vampire from Nanyang. His ghost is still haunting me and is looking for me again. Mr. Wan suddenly had an idea and guessed the identity of the owner of the ship. That night, his friend was caught by a vampire. He was terrified to the extreme, his adrenaline was overflowing, and he ran at the fastest speed in his life. He also saw the face of the so-called vampire. His face was very pale, his lips were very red, his eyes were also red, and his whole body exuded a gloomy and terrifying aura, like a zombie walking out of a 1,000-year-old tomb. Just that one glance left him with a vivid memory. The nightmare had troubled him for a long time, and he had just recently recovered. He even ran to Hong Kong specifically to avoid that jerk, but he didn't expect to be targeted by that jerk again. Darn his mother. The others were even more frightened. If they could still find a way to negotiate with the robbers, how could they negotiate with the vampires? Wait till you become a mummy. No matter what kind of ghost it is afraid of black dog blood or boy's urine. We don't have black dog blood. But do you have boy's urine? Su Jiqi suddenly asked. From the time she was captured until now, she has not spoken a word or cried, and seems calmer than everyone else. She originally thought it was a kidnapping and wanted to wait for the families of these young masters to come and redeem her, but after 3 days, she realized it was not that simple. Couldn't just wait for someone to rescue her, she had to find a way to escape. She had come to Hong Kong with so much difficulty, and now she was about to make a name for herself. She couldn't die here. Su Jiqi looked at the young men hopefully. As long as they had boy's urine, there would be hope. Several young men looked at each other and finally lowered their heads. They were famous playboys in Hong Kong. How could they have boy's urine? Su Jiqi gritted her teeth in disappointment, looked at the women again, and asked, "Who among you has your period?" If there is no boy's urine, she can use menstrual blood. She has heard from the elderly that menstrual blood is an unclean thing that can ruin one's power. Vampires should be afraid of it, right? Several women shook their heads. They had calculated their menstrual periods when they went out to play with the young masters, and they didn't want to spoil the fun of their sponsors.
I'm
coming. A woman huddled in the corner whispered that her financial sponsor was none other than Mr. Su. You're on your period and you're still out playing? Young Master Su is angry. Darn it, half of his pocket money this month will be cut. I just got here yesterday. I thought I was just in time, but who knew I would be tied up here? The woman wanted to cry, but had no tears. She had calculated that after spending 2 nights with Master Su, she could go home and rest. It happened to be her menstrual period, and the day was just right. But who knew that man proposes, God disposes, and she was brought to this darn place by the darn vampire. There was no sanitary napkin either. She was so embarrassed that she could only hide in the corner. Take off your underwear. When someone is taken away, throw it on the vampire. Maybe he can escape. Su Jiechi came up with an idea. Although everyone felt that this method was unreliable and even a bit disgusting, they had no choice now and asked Mr. Su's female companion to take off her pants. Very dirty. The woman was shy and embarrassed, and was too embarrassed to take off her clothes. You're about to die, why bother about whether it's dirty or not, just take it off. Master Su became anxious and stepped forward to strip her, but the woman quickly took off her clothes herself. A bloody smell emanated from her, and she covered her face in shame. You men should take off your clothes and use them as cushions for her. Be prepared. Maybe it can save your life. Su Jiechi had become the leader of the group at this moment. She actually didn't want to stand out, but none of these young masters were very useful, so she had to do it herself. After all, she escaped from the great northern wilderness to Hong Kong. If she didn't have any means, she would either die on the road or be caught by the police. Compared with these pampered young masters, Su Jiechi's ability to cope with things is obviously much stronger. When they heard that it could save their lives, several young men rushed to take off their clothes and even begged the women who were menstruating to use theirs first. Although the people in the house were very sleepy, they dared not close their eyes for fear of dying in their sleep. Even if they really have to die, they want to die with a clear mind and not be confused. There were footsteps at the door, and everyone's heart was in their throat. Here they come. The door opened, and 2 men in black walked into the room with cold faces. They looked around and saw that everyone was trembling with fear. They smiled triumphantly and locked their eyes on Su Jiechi. Su Jiechi's heart sank. She pressed her lower abdomen gently. Half of a bloody shirt was stuffed inside her skirt. All her hopes now rested on this half shirt. Bodhisattva Guanyin, Goddess Mazu, Lord Guan. Please bless me. She prayed silently in her heart, calling out every bodhisattva she could think of. As long as she could go back alive today, she would eat vegetarian food for 3 years. Ah Zhen, I love you, you must live well. I don't ask you to remember me. I just ask you to burn some money for me during the Qingming festival so that I don't have to suffer too much in the underworld. Who was taken away by the man in black, looked at Wan Zhan affectionately. Although her future is uncertain, she still has to gain favor in front of her financial sponsor. What if she is not dead? These words will surely move Master Wan, and he will give her more resources in the future. Sure enough, Wan Zhan's eyes turned red, and he nodded solemnly. As long as he could survive, he would go there every Qingming festival and would never forget it. Baka. The 2 men in black cursed impatiently. Su Jiechi glanced at them. Japs? She was taken to the upstairs terrace. The moon in the sky was particularly bright. A man in a white bathrobe stood with his back to them. Sir, the person is here. The man in black reported respectfully. Bring it here. The man's voice was also eerie. They were speaking the language of the Sakura country, which Su Jiechi could not understand. She had already pulled the bloody shirt out of her skirt, crumpled it into a ball, and held it tightly in her hands. Perhaps she was too confident. These people didn't tie her up, and the terrace was on the 2nd floor, so she wouldn't die if she jumped down. Su Jiechi bit her lips and lowered her head, pretending to be scared, but in fact, she was gathering strength. Is her only chance. She must escape. 2 men in black dragged her in front of the man in the white robe. Su Jiechi slowly raised her head, saw the man's face clearly, and was so scared that she almost screamed. The man's face was pale, his eyes and lips were as red as blood, and he exuded a creepy and cold aura. She only took one look at him, then lowered her head, not daring to look again. You guys go down. Taro Kikuno was very satisfied with Su Jiechi's health. She was young and healthy, so her blood must be plenty and sweet. He could have a good meal tonight. That's right. The vampire that makes Nanyang tremble with fear is Taro Kikuno, who has disappeared for a long time. 2 years ago, he was seriously injured in a bombing by Wanchichi and fled Hong Kong in a hurry. After returning to the Sakura country, his health became worse and worse. Even if Kikuno Masato found rare medicinal herbs, he was unable to regulate his body. Seeing his body getting weaker day by day, Kikuno Taro had no choice but to continue sucking human essence and blood to sustain himself. Originally, he restrained himself and dared not suck too much, but once he tasted the sweetness, he could not stop. In the past, he only smoked one every 10 days, then one every 3 days, and now one every day, which was barely enough to sustain his body. Of course, the benefits are also huge. His mental control skills are getting stronger and stronger. In the past 2 years, Taro Kikuno has controlled many domestic nobles and obtained a lot of funds. The Kikuno family has become the top family in the country. It's a pity that my grandfather Masato Kikuno's health was getting worse and worse, and he passed away 2 months ago. Fortunately, my grandfather witnessed the growth of the Kikuno family. The only regret is that he didn't see the Kikuno family's successful counterattack with his own eyes. However, he promised his grandfather that he would fulfill his grandfather's wish, fly the flags of the Kikuno family across all provinces and cities in China, and kill the traitor Kikuno Chiyo with his own hands. The 2 men in black retreated. They didn't want to watch the young master eat either. It was too scary. Only Su Jiechi and Taro Kikuno were left on the terrace. Taro Kikuno did not use any mind control on her. She was just an ant, and there was no need to waste his mental energy on her. Come here obediently. Taro Kikuno's voice seemed to have magic. Su Jiechi lifted her feet involuntarily, but she soon came to her senses and squeezed the shirt in her hand hard. She walked closer and closer, less than 5 centimeters away from Taro Kikuno. Taro Kikuno stretched out his pale hands, grabbed her neck, and prepared to enjoy a feast. Go to heck, you little devil! Su Jiechi screamed and threw the shirt in her hand away. The shirt, stained with menstrual blood, turned into red cloth, spread out in the air, and fell on Kikuno Taro's face. Ever since sucking the essence and blood, Taro Kikuno's sense of smell has become extremely sensitive, especially the smell of blood. He is dozens of times more sensitive than ordinary people. He liked was fresh blood, not menstrual blood. The shirt on his face almost made him vomit. He tore off the shirt on his face in a rage, ready to teach the disobedient food a lesson. Until this moment, he didn't take Su Jiechi seriously and still didn't use mental control. Su Jiechi also seized this opportunity, rushed to the terrace, and jumped down without hesitation. Landed, she rolled a few times, then got up and ran. Kikuno Taro did not catch up with her. He would make this disobedient woman come back obediently. However, just as he used his mental power, he was blocked by another familiar mental power. Taro Kikuno became extremely excited. It finally came. Now he would definitely not lose to this guy again. He would definitely win. The 3rd update is completed. Good night. Wanchichi finally found the villa community by the sea through the trees. It was only 100 meters away from the villa where Master Wan and his friends were imprisoned. The little cub lying in Liu Ye's arms was yawning, but suddenly sat up and looked straight in the direction of the villa. Potato Baby's eyes were determined, and his little paws were clenched into fists, fighting against the powerful mental wave. He remembered this mental wave, which he had driven away 2 years ago. At that time, it was not as strong as it is now. Moreover, this mental force was full of evil power. The little boy didn't quite understand it, but he knew that the other party was an evil and vicious villain who must be eradicated, otherwise he would bring disaster to the world. Liu Yi and Wanchichi both felt the changes in Zizi and guessed who the other was almost at the same time. Only Taro Kikuno could cause such a big reaction in the little cub. The dreaded vampire turned out to be Taro Kakuno, who had disappeared for 2 years. Moreover, it seems that this jerk's strength has increased a lot, and it is a bit difficult for Zizi to deal with him. I'll deal with him. Lu Yi handed the baby to Ruan Chi-Chi and prepared to fight the enemy. I'll go too, Manzi. I'll leave it to you. Ruan Chi-Chi took out a basket of grenades and handed it to Lu Yi. She thought for a while, then took out 3 resurrection pills and stuffed them into the little boy's pocket without saying anything. Because Zizi knew about the resurrection pill, she hid it in the space. When Zizi was playing in the space, he pointed at the resurrection pill and blurted out its name. After that, when she asked again, Zizi refused to say anything. Ruan Chi-Chi suspected that her baby was reincarnated with memories, but he must have been very young in his previous life and was also a little baby. She also gave Lu Yi 3 resurrection pills, just in case. If you feel like you're dying, take one. It will bring you back to life. If you die, I'll find you another live-in son-in-law. Ruan Chi-Chi instructed very seriously. If there is a stepfather, there will be a stepmother. I will definitely not die for my baby, and Chi-Chi, you can't die either. Lu Yi hid the resurrection pill. The 3 members of their family must be together and no one should be missing. Ruan Chi-Chi gave him another basket of grenades and the couple rushed towards Kakuno Taro. Help! Someone come quickly, help! Su Jiechi ran over in a disheveled state. Her elbows and knees were bruised and bloody, but she didn't feel any pain and ran towards Ruan Chi-Chi and the others for help. Where are Ruan Zhen and the others? Ruan Chi-Chi asked loudly. Still alive, are you sent by the Ruan family? Su Jiechi asked in surprise. Find a place to hide. Ruan Chi-Chi yelled at her. I'll lead the way for you. That vampire is a Japanese devil. He has 7 or 8 men under him. All Japanese devils. Su Jiechi didn't want to hide. Fortune and wealth must be sought at the cost of danger. She wanted to go back to save those young masters. The 2 beautiful and handsome men and women in front of her looked quite capable and should be able to protect her. If she returns at this critical moment, Ruan Zhen and the others will surely be grateful. Although it cannot be considered a life-saving favor, it is still a favor. They will surely arrange a lot of resources for her in the film and television industry to repay the favor. Su Jiechi admits that she is utilitarian and scheming, but she wants to climb to the top of the mountain and be the best. The simple and innocent little white rabbit had long been eaten by the wild beasts on the mountain road. Those who could climb to the top of the mountain had to rely on their means and scheming. Especially the female stars in the film and television industry, they are ruthless and try to please everyone. Ruan Chi-Chi had a good impression of her. She was a brave and resourceful girl. At least she was not frightened to the point of weakness, and she was able to find a chance to escape on her own. That was very good. She followed Su Jiechi to rescue Master Ruan and the others, while Lu Yi went to deal with Kakuno Taro. Taro Kakuno was being held back by Potato Baby at this moment, and had no time to care about other people, but he was clearly gaining the upper hand, and in a few minutes, he would be able to win. Ruan Chi-Chi was very fast, and she was afraid that Zizi wouldn't be able to handle it, so she had to make a quick decision. The men in black in the villa heard the noise outside and rushed out. Ruan Chi-Chi gave orders to the flowers, plants, and trees in the garden. The quiet flowers and plants suddenly grew wildly and instantly wrapped up the men in black, like a green cocoon. Su Jiechi swallowed hard, but did not stop. She rushed to the room where Ruan Zhen and the others were imprisoned. The door was locked, and she wanted to find tools to break it open. Ruan Chi-Chi took out a gun and fired several shots at the padlock. The people in the room covered their ears and cried. Their courage was almost broken. The door opened, and before Ruan Zhen and the others could react, Su Jiechi rushed in and shouted, "Someone is here to save us, run." She first tried to pull Ruan Zhen, who was lying on the ground, but failed to move him. She was so angry that she kicked him hard, and Ruan Zhen finally came to his senses. "Run, do you want to die here?" Su Jiechi roared with contempt in his eyes. They were all young masters who grew up in a greenhouse, and none of them were good enough. But they were lucky and would be reborn. Even if they did nothing, they could still live a life of luxury. Everyone woke up and rushed to the door, but they were stuck there for a moment, unable to go out or come in. Q. Ruan Chi-Chi fired a shot at the ground, sparks flew, and it was quite deterrent. Su Jiechi reacted quickly, dragged Ruanzhen to the front, and rushed out quickly, followed by Master Su, who also reacted quickly. They rushed out of the villa, breathed the fresh air, and were so moved that tears welled up in their eyes. They finally survived. You take them out. Ruan Chi-Chi instructed Su Jiechi that among the group of people, only this girl was reliable, and the others were useless and cowardly. Okay, be careful.
Suzikaki not that seriously.
If they stayed, they would only make things worse. The most urgent thing now was to rescue these young masters safely and then find reinforcements to help. When they ran about 10 meters away, Ruan Chi-Chi shot at Kikuno Taro on the terrace without hesitation, and all the bullets hit Kikuno Taro. But he seemed fine. Not a drop of blood was shed. He smiled strangely, and his body suddenly shrank, then arched, and more than a dozen bullets were shot back at Ruan Chi-Chi. At the same time, Ruan Chi-Chi used his mind to give birth to the surrounding trees, flowers, and plants. Countless branches stretched out towards the bullets and wrapped them. Liu Ye's side also launched an attack, and huge waves about 10 meters high rushed towards Taro Kikuno with a roar. The residents of other villas nearby were all awakened. They ran out in panic in their pajamas without even having time to change their clothes. When they saw the noise outside, they thought there was a tsunami and ran for their lives in fear. Su Jiechi and the others did not run far. They found a safe place to hide because Ruanzhen and those young masters wanted to stay and watch this spectacular show that would only be seen once in a century. They are legendary talents, rarely seen in a century. I want to stay and see with my own eyes that darn vampire is beaten to death. Ruanzhen hated Kikuno Taro so much. His best friend died at the hands of this jerk, and he almost died too. He had to see this jerk die with his own eyes before he could live in peace for the rest of his life. The other young masters survived the disaster and became bolder, so they were all willing to stay. The other women all ran away. They just wanted to get away from here. The farther the better. Only Su Jiechi stayed behind. She couldn't let her efforts go to waste and had to endure hardships with these young masters until the very end. Jia-Chi, you are the best. Don't worry, I won't treat you unfairly. Master Wan was so moved that he even had the idea of marrying Su Jiechi, but he quickly gave up the idea. He had no say in the matter of marrying a wife, and his family would never agree to marry a mainland girl like Su Jiechi, who had no roots. Ah Zhen, I just want you to be well. The deep affection in Su Jiechi's eyes moved Master Wan deeply. The other masters were also extremely envious, because their female companions all ran away faster than dogs and were not as sincere as Su Jiechi. Ruan Chi-Chi and Liu Yi joined forces, but were unable to cause much damage to Kikuno Taro. After this guy practiced evil skills, his body became harder than iron and steel, so their attacks were useless. Use the grenade. The kid won't be able to hold out for long. Ruan Chi-Chi threw a grenade at Kikuno Taro. With a series of loud noises, the villa collapsed and Kikuno Taro was buried under the rubble. The little baby in Manzai's arms was already sweating profusely due to mental exhaustion. Baby. Manzai kept wiping Zai's sweat, feeling extremely anxious. He couldn't help in any way and felt very frustrated. Mama Jiang was so anxious that she kept turning around, and her cubs were exhausted. Taro Kikuno was lying motionless in the rubble. Master Wan was so happy that he thought he was dead. Several young masters happily high-fived him to celebrate. But before they had finished their palm strike, a figure rushed out of the ruins. It was Taro Kikuno. His face turned paler, and his eyes turned redder. The grenade did cause some damage to him. His white robe was stained with blood. He was completely enraged. Go to heck, you lowly ants. Taro Kikuno's face was full of grim smiles, and he was ready to launch an all-out attack to devour the little guy who made him salivate, as well as Ruan Chi-Chi and his wife. This family of 3 were excellent food, and eating them would surely allow him to break through and become the overlord of the world. And the treasures on Wan Chi-Chi's body will also be used by him. Who else in the world can do it other than him? Potato Baby had a good rest. He saw his father being controlled by the bad guys, and the huge waves driven by Lu Yi rushed towards his mother.
Woof.
Mama. Chan suddenly flew into the air and bit Kikuno Taro's neck.
You beast.
Taro Kikuno didn't even bother to use his mental skills. He just waved his hand at Mama-chan, ready to kill her with one strike. In a hurry, Wan Chi-Chi grew branches to catch Mama Jiang, avoiding the attack a little, but Mama Jiang was still injured and vomited a lot of blood. But she herself was attacked by Taro Kikuno because of this, and her back felt like it was stepped on by an elephant, and her internal organs were almost broken. Duck your ancestors. Wan Chi-Chi spat out the blood in his mouth and took out a basket of grenades. Even if he couldn't kill them, he would at least stun the Japanese. A trifle. Taro Kikuno didn't take it seriously at all. He was no longer a weakling anymore, and a mere grenade couldn't do anything to him. Then let me give you a taste of the art of carving insects. Wan Chi-Chi sneered, tore off the bracelet, and threw it over. Taro Kikuno was about to use mental magic, but the mental wave restrained him again. While dealing with Potato's mental wave, he also devoted his energy to dealing with Wan Chi-Chi and Lu Yi. Waking up, Lu Yi wanted to mobilize the water in Kikuno Taro's body, but his thoughts just touched this jerk when they bounced back and almost backfired on him. His mental power is too strong. It's useless. Lead him to the sea. Wan Chi-Chi screamed. The sea is the home turf for her and Lu Yi. They are at a disadvantage on land. Lu Yi summoned wave after wave, each one higher than the last, almost drowning Kikuno Taro. Master Wan and the others who were hiding in the distance were trembling with fear. They were afraid but also wanted to see, so they covered their faces tightly with their hands, opened their fingers a little, and took a sneak peek. Although the waves were strong, Taro Kikuno's lower body was very stable, and he stood firmly. The little devil is very cunning. Chi-Chi, I will lead him to the sea. Lu Yi yelled and rushed towards Kikuno Taro. The two men fought each other. Wan Chi-Chi also joined the melee, occasionally pulling out a bone whip and sprinkling a handful of pepper. Since I can't cause physical harm to this jerk, I'll use magic to attack him. Achoo. Taro Kikuno inhaled a lot of pepper and kept sneezing, which greatly weakened his attack power. Wan Chi-Chi took the opportunity to wrap a bone whip around his neck and dragged him to the beach. Baka. Taro Kikuno laughed grimly and attacked Wan Chi-Chi with all his strength. Even an elephant could not withstand this attack. He would surely die. Wan Chi-Chi sensed danger and wanted to hide in the space, but her body seemed to be locked and cut off from the space. Chi-Chi. Lu Yi rushed over and stood behind her. After taking the blow, he flew up like a kite and fell to the ground. Zai Zai, who was far away, saw it and jumped down from Manzai's arms. His little face was full of seriousness, and his eyes were extremely firm, as if he had made a decision. The little cub rushed towards Kikuno Taro, and Manzai chased after him worriedly. Mama Jiang, who was lying on the ground and injured, tried to get up several times but failed, and whimpered in anxiety. Potato Baby ran in front of Taro Kikuno and confronted him face to face. The height difference made them look particularly different, but Potato Baby was not afraid at all. He raised his head and looked at Taro Kikuno proudly. Death. Evil villain. Potato Baby put his finger into his mouth and bit it hard, causing his little face to wrinkle in pain. No, baby, go back. Wan Chi-Chi didn't know what Zai Zai was going to do, but she had a hunch that it was not a good thing, because her heart was aching so much, like it was being cut by a knife. Potato ignored her. He made complicated gestures in the air with his chubby little hands covered in blood and muttered something. Ao clan ancestors, grant me the power to destroy the evil spirits. After the little boy finished reading, he faced the sea and bowed solemnly 3 times, continuing to make gestures with his fingers. You little brat, you're just trying to be mysterious. Get ready to die. Taro Kikuno looked disdainful. Today, this family of 3 was destined to be his delicious meal, and then he would deal with the traitor Chio Kikuno. In fact, not much time had passed, and Ruan Chi had made up her mind to die together with Kikuno Taro. After all, she had the resurrection pill, so she would definitely not die. Even if she really died, she would just go back to the underworld. At most, she could ask the king of hell to let her go. "I'm right here. Come and kill me if you dare." Xia Tao suddenly appeared, holding a knife in her hand, and rushed towards Kikuno Taro. "Get out of the way, little brat. Why are you joining in the fun when the adults are fighting?" Xia Tao roared as she passed by the cub. Gon Defa followed closely behind. He couldn't let the woman fight in the front while he hid behind. That was what a coward would do. Potato Baby ignored them. He was now gathering his strength and had no time to pay attention to the outside world. It's a pity that he is too weak now. If he could be stronger, there wouldn't be so much trouble. Ruan Chi and Xia Tao attacked at the same time, with knives and whips pointing at Kikuno Taro's neck at the same time. "Chiyoko Kikuno, you deserve to die." Taro Kikuno looked at Xia Tao grimly, using all his strength to kill the traitor and comfort his grandfather's spirit in heaven. The ninja skills that Xia Tao learned were of no use in front of Kikuno Taro. All her techniques were restrained, and her body was unable to move. She was about to be hit. But in the end, the one who was hit was Gon Defa. He rushed over to block it, and his huge body flew out, spitting out a lot of blood. Fortunately, Ruan Chi used his whip to block the attack for him, reducing the force a lot. He was only injured but not killed. "Go to heck." Xia Tao's body was out of control, and she immediately stabbed Kikuno Taro, aiming at his eyes. Even if this jerk had skin and bones of steel, he couldn't train his eyes to be as hard as diamond. That must be his weak spot. Sure enough, she stabbed his left eye with the knife. Taro Kikuno let out a horrible scream, and blood immediately flowed from his eyes. Taro Kikuno struck Xia Tao with great force, and his left eyeball got caught on the tip of the knife and was pulled out. Xia Tao didn't care about her internal injuries. She twisted in the air, pounced back, and continued to stab him in the right eye. She wanted to die together with her enemies, so she fought with her life at stake. Ruan Chi sprinkled a handful of chili powder into the bloody hole of the jerk's left eye, and while Kikuno Taro was screaming, she whipped him with a whip. Kikuno Taro was unable to react, and was stabbed in the right eye again.
Ah.
Zitch, go to heck. Both eyes were blinded, Kikuno Taro went mad, his mental power surged, and he was ready to kill them. Xia Tao and Ruan Chi were blown away by the powerful mental force and couldn't stop at all. A wave rushed over and caught them. It was Lu Yi, who summoned them with great effort. He swallowed a resurrection pill and saved his life, but his internal injuries were not healed. After using this special power, he vomited a lot of blood again. Ruan Chi and Xia Tao were also seriously injured. They looked at each other and made up their minds to continue fighting. Either Kikuno Taro will die today, or they will die.
Duck.
Xia Tao spat out a mouthful of blood, tore off a piece of cloth from her body, wrapped it around her head, and prepared to rush forward again. But suddenly a golden light rose from the ground and enveloped Taro Kikuno. It was emitted by Baby Potato. Taro Kikuno screamed in pain and wanted to escape, but the golden light was like a transparent glass cover, and he could not break free at all. Moreover, the golden light shining on his body was like being pricked by millions of needles. It was a fate worse than death. Potato Boy's face was as white as paper, and he was on the verge of collapse. He took out 3 resurrection pills and swallowed them all, recovering a lot. "Mom, I want more," the potato cub yelled.
Give.
Ruan Chi threw all 3 of her resurrection pills over. Potato Baby also swallowed it all, and his complexion looked much better. He made a few gestures towards the golden light, and the golden light became even brighter. Taro Kikuno inside kept rolling on the ground, looking very painful.
Come.
Potato Baby shouted, and the golden light was very obedient, following him towards the sea. Soon, the cub jumped into the sea with the golden light, but did not sink. Potato recovered faster after entering the sea. He whistled, and a killer whale swam over. The cub rode on it, dragging the golden light in one hand, and dragged Kikuno Taro to the deep sea. "Your son ran away, and you didn't chase him?" Xia Tao spat out a mouthful of blood and asked. "It's okay, I'll be back." Ruan Chichi also spat out a mouthful of blood. Darn it, she had never suffered such a big loss before. Fortunately, she gave birth to a strong baby. At this moment, she finally understood why King Yen gave her 9 soul-returning pills. It turned out that they were prepared for her son. This kid was quite a eater. Ruan Chichi breathed a sigh of relief, took out a ginseng, divided it into 5 parts, and gave 2 parts to Xia Tao. "Go, and give it to Gon Defa." She went to find Lu Yi and Mama Jiang. "I gave 1 portion to Mama Jiang first, and then fed it to Lu Yi. I took a resurrection pill, and I only have 2 left." Lu Yi gave her 2 pills, feeling a little annoyed. Perhaps he would not have died just now, and he should have saved them for Chi-Chi and Zai. "I'm glad you're okay. Eat this." Ruan Chi-Chi stuffed the ginseng into his mouth and took the 2 resurrection pills back into the space. "Will the baby be okay?" Lu Yi was very worried and wanted to find his son. "It's okay. The cub is safer in the sea than on land. He will come back by himself." Ruan Chi-Chi was very relieved. She had roughly guessed the origin of her baby. As expected, she was always the first in everything she did, and all the babies she gave birth to were the best in the world. What about the descendants of Ao? They are so awesome. Xia Tao and Gon Defa were also talking. "Are you stupid?
Who told you to block me?"
"I owe you a favor." Xia Tao complained angrily. She hated owing favors to others the most. "You don't have to pay it back. I blocked it voluntarily. Are you okay?" Gonda laughed, pulling the wound and gasping in pain. "Stop talking." Xia Tao glared at him, stuffed all the ginseng into his mouth, and ate the ginseng herself. Everyone was tired, no one spoke, and they sat on the ground to rest. Master Wan and his men in the distance saw this once-in-a-century battle, but they still haven't reacted. Everyone is stunned. There were also a few brave residents who hid in a safe place and watched. Among them was a student from Jada School. He was the troublemaker who would rather die than surrender, and was now being punished by cleaning the toilets. His family lives here. In the middle of the night, his parents told him there was a tsunami, so the whole family ran out in a panic without even wearing clothes. But after seeing the exciting fight, he couldn't bear to run away. This is more exciting than what is shown in the movies.
People can fly.
If he runs away, he will definitely regret it for the rest of his life. This audacious troublemaker refused to leave no matter what, so his parents had no choice but to stay. Then they saw an unforgettable scene. Director Xia of Jada School could actually fly? Just like the heroines in martial arts novels, flying in the sky, and the school director Mrs. Ruan, how come they are all martial arts masters? The family of 3 was so stunned that they even forgot to be afraid. After the battle, the father poked his son and asked in a low voice, "Do all the teachers in your school know martial arts?" "Have no idea." The son shook his head in confusion. He regretted it so much now. If he had known that Director Xia was so skilled, he would definitely not go against Director Xia. He would have tried to curry favor with Director Xia every day. Maybe Director Xia could teach him a few tricks, and he could become a hero too. Half an hour later, there was movement on the sea. The little cub came back riding on a killer whale, dragging Taro Kikuno's body in his hand. "Mother." As soon as they reached the shore, Potato Zai threw the corpse casually and ran towards Ruan Chi-Chi. "Baby." Ruan Chi-Chi picked up her son and kissed his little face again and again. The little boy took out a few large pearls from his pocket and stuffed them into her pocket with a smile. He picked them up from the sea and selected the most beautiful ones. He thought his mother would definitely like them. Ruan Chi-Chi's heart was melting. She hugged her son and kissed him hard. Lu Yu was jealous, and when the mother and son had kissed enough, he also came over and hugged the baby and kissed him. Taro Kikuno's body was lying on the beach, being hit by the waves. He was dead, and his pale face was full of fear. It was obvious that he saw something terrible before he died. No one knew what he saw. Third update completed. Good night. Xia Tao walked up to the corpse, kicked it a few times, and cursed, "I'm the one who survived to the end. The Kikuno family will be coming down to accompany you soon." Gon Defa stumbled over and asked curiously, "Do you know him?" If he heard correctly, this pervert was called a Tao the traitor. What else could he call Chio? "He is my cousin by blood, but he is also my enemy." Xia Tao kicked hard again, and with a few crackling sounds, several bones of the corpse were broken. Gon Defa didn't ask anything. He could feel that it must be a very tragic story, and asking further would be like cutting into Tao's wounds. "I am Ruanzhen from the Ruan family. I will always remember your life-saving grace and repay you handsomely in the future. I am Su Jijia from the Su family. I am from the Ma family." Ruanzhen and his group of young masters ran over and thanked him in unison. Su Jiechi stood behind them and did not squeeze forward to steal the limelight from the young masters. After calming down, she recognized Ruan Qiqi and Lu Yi, the handsome couple who helped them cross the sea 2 years ago. Including this time, she owed the life-saving favor twice, and she might never be able to repay it in this lifetime. The sound of police sirens whistled from far away. Ruan Qiqi said to Ruanzhen and his group, "You guys clean up the mess. You have eradicated the demon, and you will be rewarded by the government, as well as a generous bonus. Don't leave." Ajun shouted loudly, but Ruan Qiqi and the others walked very quickly and soon disappeared into the night. To put so much effort into something for nothing, isn't that stupid? Ruanzhen talked to himself in confusion. They are great men and don't care about these things. Su Jiechi walked over and said, "That's right. The hermits in novels are all indifferent to fame and fortune. Jiechi, you really see it clearly." Ruanzhen now looks at Su Jiechi with much more tenderness than before the incident. It is true that true love is revealed in times of adversity. Compared with other women, Su Jiechi's performance it touched him and also made him feel proud in front of his friends. Therefore, he decided to give Su Jiechi more resources in the future to help her become the top female star. Anyway, the last thing the Ruan family lacks is money, and his life is very precious. Everyone was injured and exhausted. After returning home, they all slept soundly and did not wake up until the next afternoon. All major newspapers in Hong Kong reported on the events of the previous night. The Heavenly Master of Mount Longhu fought against the vampires, and the Heavenly Master won a great victory and left without a word after the task was accomplished. The title of the report was very attractive. People were scrambling to get newspapers. People were talking about the matter on the streets. The story spread from 1 person to 10, and then to 100, and became more and more exaggerated. "My cousin's daughter-in-law's aunt's boss lives on the beach where the accident happened. She saw it with her own eyes last night. What I say is truer than gold. The Heavenly Master of Mount Longhu can really fly. It's amazing. Is he really the Heavenly Master of Mount Longhu? Isn't Mount Longhu in the mainland? How did he end up in Hong Kong? You are stupid, and you still refuse to admit it. The Heavenly Master can fly, so he can fly all over the world. The Heavenly Master is also very beautiful, but there is one who is a little ugly. Speaking of which, he looks a bit like your Fa Zai." The man who spoke eloquently was the fishmonger Lian from Lianhua Street. He specially caught a grouper in the morning and went to visit his cousin's daughter-in-law's aunt to find out the exciting gossip from last night so that he could come back and show off to the neighbors. At this time, the neighbors were all sitting in Gon's tea restaurant, listening to the fishmongers chat with great interest. Gon's father and mother were also fascinated by the story, but when they heard about their own son, they both frowned and said unhappily, "How can our son be ugly? He is mighty and strong, and has the spirit of a man. If I look like you, thinner than a corn stalk, I'd be a woman." Gon's father sarcastically said that his son looked like him, and the fishmonger even said that his son was ugly, which meant that he was ugly and he absolutely could not tolerate it. This time Gon's mother did not stop him. Instead, she squinted her eyes and glared at the fishmonger Lien fiercely. If this old man dared to say that her son was ugly again, she would definitely hit him with a rolling pin. Let me give you an example. Fa Zai is very promising now. He has established such a good school. He is the most promising young man in our Lotus Street. My family still needs FA's support to have a son. The fishmonger smiled and said nice things, and even slapped himself on the mouth a few times. Gon's father and mother knew they had gone too far and urged him to tell the story faster. Where's I just saying?
Oh, right.
The Heavenly Master and the vampire fought for 300 rounds, from the sky to the ground, from the ground to the sea, calling the wind and rain, swallowing clouds and spewing mist. The waves were higher than a 3-story building. Finally, the little Heavenly Master summoned a golden light, just like Fahai took in the white snake and took in the vampire. The fishmonger took the story he had heard, put some artistic twist on it, and told it with some embellishment. It's better to be dead.
Ba.
This vampire is really good at running. He ran from Nanyang to Hong Kong.
Fortunately, he is dead.
My sister and her friends can go back to Nanyang to do business again. The pork seller clasped his hands together and bowed towards the sky a few times. Then he called his sister and told them the good news. Where's your son, Fai? Why didn't I see him today? Neighbors asked about Gon Defa with concern. Gon Defa's daily life is very regular. After getting up in the morning, he helps out in the tea restaurant until 8 o'clock, then goes to work in his hometown. He also goes home after work. He will say hello to the neighbors he meets on the road, but he didn't see him today. I didn't come back last night. I called and said that there was a lot of work at school and I had to work overtime. Gon's mother's tone was full of heartache. She was very proud that her son had run a school, but she also felt sorry for him because he worried too much and had visibly lost a lot of weight. Fai is the principal, he must be very busy. I will bring you some nourishing herbs later and cook them for you. The lady boss of the dry goods store is very generous. I have some fresh pork kidneys. You can use them to make soup for Fai. A man's waist is very important, the pork shop owner said with a smile. Neighbors were very generous in taking out ingredients for making soup. Since Gon Defa was successful, they also felt proud of it. Speak of the devil, he appears. Gon Defa has returned, and he doesn't look very well. He slept in the gang's office building last night, fearing to scare his parents when he returns home. The effect of ginseng was very good. His injuries improved a lot, but he still felt a little chest tightness. Ruan Chichi also gave him a lot of blood replenishing and healing herbs. He took them back to make soup, wanting to give some to Xia Tao and Ruan Chichi and others. Fai is back. You don't look well. Is it because you have too much work at school? Your health is more important. You haven't married or had children yet. Just drink more nourishing soup. The neighbors chattered enthusiastically, and Gon Defa responded politely one by one. After returning home, he took out the herbs and asked his mother to make soup. Is this ginseng or radish? So fat? When Father Gon saw the half ginseng that was taken out, his eyes bulged out. Mrs. Ruan gave it to me. Mom, please make the soup and call me. I will take it to Ah Tao and Mrs. Ruan. Gon Defa sounded tired and went upstairs to sleep after giving his instructions. Mr. and Mrs. Gon exchanged glances, then stared at the half-thick ginseng. Suddenly, the old couple had an idea and thought of something. Was it Fai last night? Gon's father asked. Hush, just pretend you don't know. Gon's mother signaled him to be quiet. Since their son refused to speak, they would just pretend they didn't know. Madame Wan and Atao were both very capable. After their son had been hanging out with them, he was becoming more and more promising, so they were relieved. Gon Defa came with some tonic soup. Ruan Chi and the others had just gotten up, but Potato was still sleeping. He had exerted a lot of energy last night, so this time he would have to sleep for several days and nights. This is the tonic soup my mother made.
It contains the herbs you gave me.
I drank a bowl, and it worked very well. Gon Defa put the thermos on the table. He looked much better than before. Thank your mother for me. Ruan Chi poured 2 bowls and gave one to Lu Yi. The medicine had a strong medicinal flavor, and after drinking it, he could immediately feel the effect of the medicine, and his body was not so tired anymore. Xia Tao drank the rest of the soup, and she also gave a small bowl to Mama Jiang. After the man and the dog drank it, they immediately regained their spirits. Where is Manzai? Gondefa didn't see Manzai and asked with concern. Maybe he's still sleeping? Wan Chi didn't pay much attention to it. She slept till now and just woke up. Mr. Liu didn't sleep. He was sitting in the garden and looked unhappy. Ah Xiang happened to come and deliver snacks and said immediately. Wan Chi-Chi's heart skipped a beat, and she felt a little annoyed. Manzai's mood was not right last night, and she was too careless. Manzai must have blamed himself for not being able to help, because they were all injured last night. Wan Chi-Chi and Lu Yi went to the garden, and Manzai sat alone, looking very lonely. Manzi, you are here. I need your help with something. Are you free? Wan Chi-Chi didn't comfort him, but asked him to work. Sure enough, Manzai's eyes lit up and he nodded vigorously. I'm free. Chi-Chi, yeah, what's up? Do you remember Kakuno Taro's voice last night? Remember? Manzai nodded, then imitated Kakuno Taro's voice and said a few words, almost exactly the same. Manzai is so awesome. Wan Chi-Chi and Lu Yi both gave thumbs up and praised him. Manzai's eyes sparkled, and a smile appeared on his face again. In fact, Wan Chi-Chi also thought of it at the last minute. Kakuno Taro was dead, and several of his men were swept away by the waves. The Kakuno family in Sakura country must not have received the news yet. Kakuno Taro had made a lot of money in the past 2 years, and she had to find a way to get it. She returned to the living room and discussed the feasibility of this matter with Xia Tao. Half of the money we get will be used to expand the school, buy more teaching equipment, and set up more scholarships. Xia Tao became excited when she heard this. She is now very ambitious and wants to open branches in other cities, such as Wandao and Nanyang. Can,